Well, I'd like to start the show off with good news. There's actually some good news. It's not always bad news, but it looks like the world has defeated CV, the crown virus. It's over. It's finished. We won. Judging by the madness and the riots taking place now, really around the world, protests around the world, and some riots, but specifically here in America, these people are not social distancing. That's the thing I'm most upset about. No, but really, the madness is really on display. And they say it's a 2-week incubation for the CV. So I guess we'll see. I'm not expecting a big spike in numbers, but we'll see how the media plays this. That'll be interesting. You know, the big difference between the truth and what we see on the TV, right? So we'll see. But it really didn't take long for us to go from social distancing to full on rioting and madness and even death. Happened pretty quick. I believe all by design, and we're going to get into some of that tonight. Speaking of which, I've got a special guest, Jeff C., and he's been here before. Good friend of mine, many years now, and I can't wait to get Jeff's perspective on some of this as well, because these are the kind of things I think he always covers the very best. He does great at everything, but especially when we get into some of these fishy, violent situations, associated with losses of life, connected with the government, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm trying to say. Most things really are rigged these days, and Jeff's always had a really good eye for all of that. So I want to welcome Jeff on, man. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm great, buddy. I'm glad to be back on the show, and this reminds me of your old show. You remember your old show on the radio that was called Rigged Reality?
Oh yeah, Rigged Reality Radio.
That's what we're in.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, isn't it? I mean, and it's quickening too. I knew we were going to talk once this thing popped off because people are still dealing with the lockdown, from the CV. So I've got some screen shares I'll do in a bit, but before we do, man, just welcome aboard, say hi. I understand I saw your post yesterday. It looks like you got in trouble again by Susan. So if you want to tell us about that and the latest, what's up?
Yeah, I got hit. I've been hit all the time. So I even just like half an hour ago, I got another video hit. So they're cracking down. Typically, they just remove the videos. They don't put a strike. But the other day, I got 2 strikes on 2 separate channels within an hour of each other, very quickly. So Jeff censored my main channel is offline. I can't really do much. I mean, I can get into the account, but I can't really post anything. I can't post a community tab or post a video or anything like that. And so I'm kind of on my backups, Jeff censored Encore and Supreme Lord Commander right now. And I got the video that they hit for Jeff censored was this black bird watching guy, and this really the whole George Floyd thing kicked off, and I was covering it right from the get-go. And in fact, before I even saw the video of George Floyd, I had seen a bunch of other stories that came out right at that moment, which were again white racism towards black people. And one of them was this gay black bird watcher who had an altercation with a Karen, a white woman, as they say, in Central Park. And at the same time, Jimmy Fallon was being called out for blackface, like all within like a matter of an hour or so. All these stories were springing up, and I hadn't even got a chance to cover because the George Floyd thing was just fresh at that moment. And I was like, what's going on here? They're amping up the race war. So the video that I did a breakdown, putting a bunch of these different racial divide and conquer stories that were happening right at that moment. And the main one being the gay bird watcher, the gay black bird watcher being confronted by the white woman Karen in the Central Park.
I'm sorry, Jeff, but was that in the title? Was gay black in the title?
No,
I'm just saying.
I didn't put gay in the title. I put black bird watcher, and I keep my titles like I don't say.
You do.
I keep them pretty open so anybody could see them and just you wouldn't really know from the title what the content was. Maybe you would if you know me, sort of thing. But I don't think they like me exposing that one, because what I was trying to show was that this is being orchestrated, and that they are heavily hitting us with this right now, on top of all the corona stuff, right? So that, we have this perfect storm. Like it's almost like a second wave that hit, because we had the first wave, which is everybody's got to social distance. You got to stand in line. You got to wait outside to get into the grocery. You got to dance through hoops of fire. You got to put on the mask. You got to, have the gloves or the squirt on your hands. All these lockstep rituals that they've managed to convince us all to do, which all of it is highly unconstitutional. None of it really should be allowed to happen, but because they've got everybody in that lockstep in that sort of mentality, that they're able to carry this out. So I've also for a long time been paying very close attention to how our controllers are always trying to amp up the racial divide and conquer. And a lot of these stories, like, people need to realize this, especially Black people. I have a lot of Black listeners. There's a lot of these stories are completely scripted, folks. They're concocted by the media itself, and they're purposely thrown out there to divide and conquer and create chaos. And of course, we know order through chaos is the motto of the New World Order. And we have never seen, I don't think there's ever been this level of chaos in the United States.
I wanted to add something to that, and that's we've noticed that trend on my show. What happened over the last easily 6 months? It's definitely increased, but every week, there's new stories that are placed in there for racial division, whether they were fully orchestrated or not. Some of them are organic. You don't see it all the time because the ones that aren't created, the ones that are organic, I mean, they're going to get played constantly. If it's one side of the narrative, usually, right? They're going to get played constantly. But we've seen that. I've seen that trend over the last 6 months really ticking up as well. And it's interesting, as I was watching all this insane footage, that's come out over the weekend, really is. If some of it's just hard to watch, man. Like, I don't even think I can play some on my next show because I'll show pictures, but I can't. It's just too much. But I was watching that and I was like, you know what? It's already here is what's happened. I mean, it seems like the second Civil War, if you will, in a sense, is already here because, we don't know what that's going to look like. We all think back to the North versus the South, a long time ago. And this is a different time, a totally different time, totally different places to have warfare. You have the digital world for one, so it looks like it's all in pockets. And it seems like that's how this is all being laid out. We know that everything happening now, this lockdown, is fundamental for, the full-on New World Order, or the full-on beast system, if you will, to have full control. They need that lockdown. So it's interesting how it's all starting to play out, because you see it now in America. It's not quite the 13 FEMA regions, but it seems kind of everything's been regioned off. Some places are hot zones and some places aren't so bad. But we see in some of these hot zones, I mean, it's full on racial warfare in some of these spots, and now you get the American citizens are standing up. You see more and more stories the last few days of people going out there armed, trying to protect their businesses and fight back. And, if ever you wanted, a good advertisement for the Second Amendment, just watch some of this footage. Did you see that clip of the man and his wife? There was like 5 guys outside their store.
Yep.
All right, 4 of these dudes are beating this woman like she's a man. I mean,
Rochester. Yeah, I covered that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, and
that was brutal.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and of course, if they had a gun, you have a different outcome. But they had like a golf club or whatever, right? That's what the husband was trying to beat off these guys with, and he was just outnumbered and overpowered. And yeah, there was a good little clip that I showed yesterday where one of the sheriffs in Florida was encouraging the people in his neighborhood to arm themselves and shoot, if people do try to break into their homes, because they had BLM and Antifa sort of messages that said they were going to start hitting white neighborhoods and stuff like that. There's so much going on. So much of it is orchestrated. Even amongst all the chaos, they are scripting little segments I've shown a lot of them on my live shows where, you have the corporate media that just happens to be there at the right place at the right time just to catch a certain confrontation, which fits the narrative of what they want to push. A lot of the narrative that they're trying to push now is that it's white supremacist groups that are really behind all the chaos and the violence. And you see this today where Twitter is suspending a whole bunch of accounts claiming that white supremacists are impersonating BLM members in order to denigrate their reputation and stuff like that. And this is all from the beast itself. This is most of what's happening is Antifa and BLM, and most of the violence is coming from these people. I know as well as anybody on planet Earth. I doubt few people have seen as much of this footage as I have, because I've been doing live show after live show after live show almost every night, covering and going through hundreds and hundreds of videos, and it's just awful what's going on. It's full-on chaos. To make matters worse, you have celebrities playing their roles, and you had a lot of celebrities that came out right in the beginning that were very influential. Colin Kaepernick is one of the best examples, who incited and encouraged people to burn their towns down. And I was when I saw those messages, I knew exactly what was going to happen, and it all unfolded. I mean, you saw, Minneapolis burning, right? And I just showed, I don't know if you've seen this clip from Steven Jackson of the NBA. He was caught last night on a sports, I think ESPN, and one of their sports basketball shows, and he was being interviewed by a white host, and the white host asked him, he said, "Can you clarify what you're saying about burning things down, and do you still feel that way?" And he literally said that, "Yeah, as far as Minnesota goes, I don't care if they burn the whole thing down. I'm all on board for that." Right?
Yeah,
and this is like a NBA player who is the twin, of course, of George Floyd. The twin symbolism is very big because we get the twin pillars, of course, the twin cities.
I've got that tonight for you too. Yeah,
the twin cities, which of course is Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is where it all kicked off. Right, so there's all this Freemasonic symbolism that's coming through with this event.
I'm glad you've been noticing that. Good.
Yeah. My video was just taken down, so I did a video in which I showed all the twin symbolism and the Freemasonry and the connection. Because I don't know if your listeners know this, or KJ, if you know this, but Kobe. Okay, so I call it the Kobe virus, right? Just in case you hear me say that, because I'm so used to saying it. I say it instead of COVID, right? Because censorship and all that. But why do I say the Kobe virus? Like, there's actually a really good reason for it. And
there's connections. I remember that. Yeah.
So the connections are, first and foremost, the whole thing kicked off right about the time that Kobe allegedly passed in his helicopter, right? That a massive event that happened, and that was the kickoff for everything that has happened since. Now, Kobe has a ton of symbolism about him, is definitely a Freemason, 666 workout. He had the black mamba, the snake symbolism, all these things. And one thing that I showed way back when was that if you go into Google Translate and you put COVID, you translate it into Hebrew, and you take what those letters in Hebrew and you translate them back into English, it comes out as Kobe.
Yep.
So COVID literally translates into Kobe. So the NBA being the first sport where, you had the NBA players coming forth, like you had the guy, Rudy Gobert, who mocked the whole sanitation thing, right? When they were doing a press conference announcing that the season, they were thinking about shutting down the season and stuff like that. He, at the end of the conference, got up and rubbed his hands all over the table and the microphone to mock the whole paranoia about the germs. Well, 24 hours later, he was the first player to come down with coronavirus. So sports play a huge role in the mind control of the masses, especially when it comes to blacks, because most of their idols are in things like the NBA. These are the people, they're like gods almost, Beyonce, you could say, the pop music and stuff like that. But certainly for black males, a lot of the NBA superstars are their heroes. So they use sports and these leagues to control the masses and to program people. And this is what we have, this orchestrated chaos. Now, the whole thing about George Floyd, the video is very convincing. I'm sure I don't have to tell people. Probably everybody's seen it by now. But there are so many fishy things about George Floyd himself and everything around it. Even the video itself is kind of fishy in some ways, that a lot of people have questioned whether or not it's possible that George Floyd may not really be dead.
Let me throw this one out on that, because
Corona.
I think one was corrected, but yeah, when you watch the video and the paramedics come to get the body, a lot of people were saying those aren't paramedics, they're police officers. So for like 24 hours, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. But then as I looked more into it and looked up what the paramedics wear in that city, they do wear stuff that look exactly like that.
Yeah,
so
I did the same research.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful, because there's times that it's like,
I think it doesn't matter though if the video is somehow a Hollywood production or is real, because even if you could prove it's fake, they're never going to let you get critical mass.
Ever. No.
They're gonna, and you're just going to anger all these people because they have emotionally invested themselves into it. So but you see what you've got up on the screen here with one of the pictures that they show everywhere. Probably the most common photo that they show of George Floyd, and what has he got behind him?
Corona. And what is behind the corona? It looks like a virus.
Yes.
If you look at it. So, I mean, guys, again, this is where we get into, Jeff and I both look at this stuff, but it's where we go a little deeper on the symbols, because everything really is symbols, and it's not always, sometimes a pyramid's just a pyramid. But when we find like this corona thing connected with all of these events, and I've shown it in my videos as well, it's connecting to tons of things. It's fascinating.
Have you seen Kobe wearing the I Can't Breathe shirts?
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that one. No.
Yeah, you can put a little search in and bring that up.
Let's see here.
I showed this in my video, which this was like, ironically, like we're live right now, but my last video that was pulled just about half an hour before going live here was the video that was exposing all this, showing the whole connection between Kobe. So Kobe back in 2015 had I Can't Breathe. Yeah.
Good catch.
And have you seen the Trump video of Donald Trump saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe?
Yeah, mocking somebody, right?
Yeah, it's this is their black magic. They manifest this stuff. This is how it works, folks. The world is a stage. It's like, I don't know how they do it. Like, and again, like, the video is very convincing, so I'm not here to tell you that he didn't die or anything, but there's no way that this isn't orchestrated, that this is orchestrated chaos that is happening.
Well, hey man, I think that in okay, you're right. Now, sometimes it's hard we see all these odd connections, and it's definitely hard to convince some people, but I think the missing component sometimes is the magic behind this. It is the spiritual component. People sometimes don't want to address that, but I do believe that's the missing component. These people are sorcerers. They're into witchcraft. It's admitted, man. We've seen it. So yes, and magic works. It's all about intention. So, look at all the witches doing spells against Trump and all this other, it's always stories of the witches and the spells and the sorcery. And so, yeah, man, I mean, that happens. And, this stuff can come out spiritually through people. I've seen that for years in the movies. I'll show people in movies and TV shows a lot of these symbols, and there'll be more than one, and you'll see a story that connects with it or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's either put in there on purpose by Masons, right, in the industry, or other perhaps secret societies.
Well, and think about
or it's spiritual. Go ahead.
Think about it too, because what else does I Can't Breathe make you think about? Like, if you think about what they're doing to everybody.
Oh gosh, man, I thought that's a good one. Yeah, man, I thought about that too. Yeah, the masks. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, gosh.
So, see? Like, see how, and you think, like, because they don't want you to think on deeper levels. They want you to react to everything. They want you to be floating in their world, just absorbing everything that they throw at you. They want you to engage politically on the left or the right, but they don't want you to ever go anywhere deeper than that. But if you think about it, there's a spiritual, there's a magical sort of work at play when the whole thing is I can't breathe, while they've got everyone wearing face masks, which restrict your breathing. And a lot of people, even people are dying because they're wearing face masks.
Oh yeah, it is my mom, I've said it before, God bless her, but she's locked in her house the last 3 months now, terrified, wearing the mask. I can't hug her. If we go over there, we got to stay like 10 feet away. I mean,
Oh
it's,
my gosh.
yeah, man. But you know what? It's one of those things I had to just, I know some people are out there,
Bite the
Kate, of
bullet.
all people, but it's like, yeah, I'm serious, man. And I love her and my dad, and I go with it. I'm not here to argue with them. I don't need to twist their arm and make them see it my way. They're much older, and they're set in their ways. So
Isn't it crazy too? Because I'm sure you know this, but they're putting out all these articles saying that masks are here to stay.
yeah, that's just sickening. But then you'll see Dr. Fauci come out and say he wears it just as a symbol. No one really needs to wear a mask. But we don't hear about that, or people aren't perceiving that. It really is the programming, and it's unbelievable. But I will say though, I do feel and I'm sure you see it too. There has been an awakening, a steady awakening over the last 10 years, and it's really increasing. I mean, I'll go on, like, say, go on Bill Gates' Instagram and look at one of his posts and look at all the hate on this guy and people calling him out for what he is. Things like that give me hope. So I don't want to ever seem like it's hopeless, but I think what's happening is that I really believe that humanity is being corralled into one of two camps. You're either and you can call it whatever you want. You can either go with the globalist system, or, go with freedom, basically, or say go with God, or go with the beast system, or however you want to place it. But I feel that the choices are being narrowed. Does that make sense?
Yes. And there is that left right divide, blue red sort of, conservative, liberal, Democrat sort of thing, like that's being played. And they play both sides. Always remember this, everyone. They control both sides, and they play both sides against each other. And often one day it'll be the left that gets all the good stuff and has all the ammunition, and the next day it'll be the right that'll come forth and have all these ludicrous videos of SJWs and stuff like that, and it just plays back and forth, and it's a full-on divide and conquer. The problem is this, though. We are already in an era that everything is going to change. Like, this is what they are doing. This is the Great Reset. This is the Black Swan event of our times. This
Tom
is
Hanks told us that.
Yeah.
I want to throw this in quickly and then take it off this page.
Yeah.
'Cause it's bright for people, but I just wanted to show you the Select Master, the one at the top, second to the left. Hands up, don't shoot. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, that, guys, there's your hands up, don't shoot. I did a video on this a while back, but it's back again. You see people running around doing this symbol all day long now too. The hands up, don't shoot. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, man.
Yeah. So what we're facing now is a very different reality going forward. And like some of the stuff that I'm showing is so utterly disturbing, like what they're expecting us to do. The other day I put up a video on one of my channels in which I was showing in Toronto that they're proposing these booths that you would go through that would scan your body, read your temperature, be able to detect everything about you. They'd be able to detect if you got alcohol in your system, if you smoke drugs, if you're suffering from dementia, all these different things. And they're proposing putting these for every store. Like, this is going to be the new normal. Of course, we know the new normal, right? That they want us to embrace. The airports, it's never going to be the same. You're going to go to an airport, you're going to have to stand in a pod for a minute while your body gets sprayed and scanned, and then you're going to have to go through these arches that are going to do more things, and then you're going to have to wear a mask, and you're going to have to socially isolate. They're going to rearrange all the seats on the planes, just like on public transit. And they want all this stuff to be forever. They don't want this to change. They're going to bring this stuff in and make it permanent. It's going to be the same. I'm covering things where they're trying to get rid of grocery shopping, where they're saying it's time for grocers no longer to allow customers to come shopping at their stores, that we have to do delivery systems. They're talking about automation on drones. Of course,
Apple already has those self-checkout stores they've been putting out. You seen those?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
so they're ready.
Yeah, they're moving it. They're changing everything. They have massive plans. All their food's being changed at the same time. We showed how the FDA now has allowed corporations to supplement all these different base ingredients within their products because of the shortage, and the shortage, much of which has been orchestrated, right? Like they're forcing dairy farmers to dump millions of liters of milk, and they're slaughtering all kinds of cattle, and they're creating this artificial shortage. Well, it's not really artificial because they stop the supply chain, so it manifests in your grocers. They're shifting our diet completely away from eating meats. Like in the very near future, is going to be very difficult for you to be able to purchase meats, because and this is Bill Gates and co. They're all involved in this. I did a big podcast on it today with my good friend Camille. Please stop the ride. And we were discussing how Cargill and Tyson, the biggest meat producers, are being financed by Bill Gates, and they're going through a complete transformation. Of course, ironically, they just happen to have the big outbreaks right at their plants. And what is the solution? Well, New York Times and CNN and all the media comes forth, the beast media, and says it's time to stop eating meat. They're pushing cockroach milk instead of cow milk. They're pushing, now you can go to this grocery store and buy bug bars. Soylent Green is actually a meal supplement that you can purchase. Like all these things that they show us in their movies, like the bug bars, say from the Snowpiercer film, are now, there's actually a Snowpiercer bug bar that you can buy now. Like they're selling it in stores.
Wow. Well, I drove through Colorado, I guess it's around the beginning of the year, and I went to a truck stop there. I got some gas. On the way out, the checkout, they had a little, snack box set up there, so you can grab a little snack before you go. But the snacks they had were crickets. I still have them. They're here with me. They were, they were just called Crick with a dash ets, and they were salt and vinegar flavored. There's like probably a dozen in a box. And I looked at this lady. I said, "Are these for real?" And this lady had, no offense, but it's just, she was definitely an older hippie type lady, but like 20 piercings, like 10 on her nose, and just the long purplish gray hair. And she gave me a real serious look. She goes, "Yeah, that's serious." She goes, "We're all going to be having to eat like that in the next 10 years.
Yes.
Right?" And I was like, "You think?" She's like, "Yeah, if not sooner." I'm
That's
like,
it.
"All right, I'll take a box." You
They're
win.
doing it. Both Cargill and Tyson are switching to plant-based. Plant-based is a total misnomer. It's not at all based on plants. It's lab concocted cultures of, they take, they're even selling things like celebrity salami, right? That's made from skin follicles of a celebrity or something like that.
I have not heard that one. That is crazy. Wow.
Yes.
And I know about the real Soylent Green, about that one, but I haven't heard about this. What's that? What do you know about that now?
Well, that's it. Like all these meat products, these fake meat products, these plant-based products, a lot of them, it's not really far off from actually Soylent Green, right? Soylent Green is people, of course, but they're moving us towards, they're transforming everything. Like everything is being transformed, and they want to control every element of civilization. This is a global takeover. This is a global coup d'etat that's happening right now. This is exactly what's happening. All the governments of the world are being taken over by the global coup, right? So this is their master plans, and they have every element of society, whether it's farming, agriculture, education, right? Feminism. All these things they have massive plans for, and they're all in full steam. What Agenda 2030, the big plan, and Agenda 21, it's all full ahead right now. And we're witnessing, they're crashing the regular economies. They're destroying the middle class. They're destroying small businesses. They're going to take complete control of the entire food supply of the world, and they're going to transform it very quickly. It's already happening, folks. You can see it in your groceries. You can see it when you go to McDonald's or something, right? The plant-based burgers are there, right? It's all happening. This is all part of their lockstep that they're doing. And so what's going to happen in the near future, folks, is that you're going to be traced everywhere you go. Everything that you do will be traced. Like this is what they want to do to reboot or restart the economy, sort of thing, is make you dance through hoops of fire to get a loaf of bread or something at your grocer. And the stuff that they want us to do, right? Give up all their privacy. The 5G is all being laid out right now in the United States, right? You know that, right? The Trump signed the 2 bills, 180 days to lay out the entire foundation of the 5G across America, right?
Yeah,
So
not happy about that.
we've got all that happening. We've got, and then the orchestrated chaos with the food. Now the FDA coming forth and saying, you know what, we're going to allow corporations to supplement their the base products or the base ingredients in their products right now. And then you got like this up on the screen here. You got George Floyd, of course, who is a porn star.
Let me pull that up. Hold on a second.
It's
I think I got that. Okay, here we go. It's okay, cool. So you saw this too. Yeah, George Floyd, prawn star. I can't play it because this had one of those warnings at the front.
Yeah.
I don't want them to claim it, but I'll play like 10 seconds at a time. But yeah, this is him coming in, man, for his interview.
What's going on, bro? What's going on, man? What's up?
The projects, man.
Hey,
This thing right here, man.
what's that?
Man.
Young risk takers?
Young risk takers, man. Well, RT, man, to the fullest.
Right.
Hey.
Anyway, but yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
And this was where they got the image of his tattoo, which is here. And that it does look like the not order of chaos, like they say here, but order out of chaos. It does look like the double-headed eagle, right? So that's interesting because we've seen that here.
And it's just within this. They're doing it on purpose that it's a black porn star because you can't say anything, right?
Right.
You can't because look, the guy had if we go by his criminal he has a lengthy criminal history, right? This guy is not. There's nothing squeaky clean about him whatsoever. I believe the whole thing is concocted, right? But nonetheless, I mean, if we go by what the character is, I mean, he's not at all the squeaky clean, loving guy. Maybe he is. I don't know, loving or what, but he's involved in the porn industry. And I mean, who runs the porn industry? Well, it's the New World Order, of course, right? And they are always doing the racial divide and conquer. In fact, porn is always, there's things called blacked, for instance, with the white girls getting from the black guys, right? And this is something that the New World Order pushes everywhere. And little kids watch this stuff. They put it in, they put it everywhere, suggesting to people to watch this stuff. They normalize the consumption of porn. So
that's where the cucking came in too, where they started in the last couple of years have been pushing this idea of being a cuck, usually on white men, and we've seen it in TV shows. There've been examples in movies, and
just like the Karen.
Yeah, and then the news, of course, saying, "Hey, bringing a third partner in is not such a bad idea after all." But
polyamory,
one of the most and it goes back to them fanning the flames of the race war, trying to make black versus white. They do that kind of stuff. It works on so many levels. But one of the most clear examples, I put this in one of my videos years ago, was that 7-Eleven commercial where it's a white couple, and then suddenly it's like it goes bing, like a magical bing, and all of a sudden there's like this famous rapper. I don't know which guy it was. But he's sitting on one side and he's got the white girl, I believe, like in his lap or next to him. And then the white guy's by himself now. And basically, the girl decides to go with the rapper or whatever. But in front of the rapper and the white guy are these, they were structures, either ice formation or there was some kind of like a statuette, but they were some kind of an animal, like some kind of a bird. What is it? The birds with the long necks? What are they called?
Crane?
Yeah, maybe a crane or something like that.
Or
and
flamingo?
Or maybe a flamingo. Yeah, I think it's flamingos. You can look this up. But the flamingo in front of the black man, his head was straight up. And the flamingo in front of the white guy, it was wilted and flaccid.
Yep, they do that. They have the character in the Grand Theft Auto. I showed this when I played through it. And he was like the kind of superhero character. He's the white guy, and he's dressed up as a superhero, and he has a lightning bolt right where his junk would be, but it's all limp, right? And like this is symbolic of what they're doing to men. They're definitely like the foods, the chemicals, and things are definitely having a huge impact on your health. And
then look what they're doing with the black men too, though. And then they're throwing them in the dresses, right? In Hollywood, they take the most virile, strong black men and put them in the dress. So nobody's safe, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. They do that all the time. I mean, they play both sides. They play all sides, like all sides against each other. Like one of the things that I was showing too, like with the Karen, right? So like now all of a sudden anybody named Karen, now you're a meme basically, right? Which
That sucks. I'm guilty of that too, Jeff. I that's one of those I fell for. I use the name Karen a lot, and I'm with you on that. I actually have a cousin named Karen. She's a lovely person,
yeah, it's
but
unfortunate, eh? Because I
yeah.
know a lot of Karens too, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden. But now, if you guys don't know, if people are listening, I'm sure most people do know. But if you don't know, a Karen is basically a privileged white woman, a middle-aged privileged white woman. That's a typical Karen. And you'll see this. Like I was watching this before. I had it on a loop when I was making dinner. I just put on one of the more recent newscasts, and then it went from NBC News, and it was NBC News. Went on a loop, and they just started playing one incident after another incident after another incident, and it was all these white Karens confronting black males, whether it's in a park or an apartment building or whatever, and they just had them on a loop over, like, just, I'm saying, on YouTube, right, when they have the autoplay going. This is how it works, right? People watch these things and it builds up the narrative. And so white privileged women, right, just like white males, right, you can't say anything bad about white cis males, or there's nothing you can do that isn't right. You can't be racist towards white cis males. You can't even be really racist towards white people, the way that the New World Order functions. But you are not allowed to be anti-Semitic, right? So like you see how like racism itself, the way that racism, it's not at all even. There's no even playing field. It's all the manipulation, right? And ultimately what our controllers are trying to do is turn everyone against the majority and then have everyone fighting each other. So they create these things, they script these things, they throw them out, or they take them if they come and they blow them up, and they, like, if it's an actual authentic video, they can, and it fits their narrative, they'll throw it out there and they'll put it on all their channels, sort of thing, and they'll have all these people react to it. And it's just evil what's going on. KJ, did you see the video of the women? And they said she's a Karen, of course, in Long Island, in the grocer, and she didn't wear a mask, and everyone shouted her out. They basically chased her out of the store.
Yeah, I showed them last show, man. That was one of the scariest ones I've seen.
Yeah, and it's amazing because if you watch that and you're into the conservative sort of media, they'll champion the women. They'll say she was right to stand up and all that. But if you watch it on the left spectrum, they will all berate the woman for being a white privileged Karen who was an idiot and refused. And this is so dangerous, folks, because what's happening is most people are not capable of critical thought. And most people have no clue what's really going on. They're watching the television, they're programmed, and they're using the people as a mob to control any dissidents. They don't have to do it themselves because they've programmed the masses into it so that the masses will do their bidding. And this is what you have happening, where innocent women just going into a store are chased out. I mean, how horrible is that, right? To actually have just a mob turn against you for the stupidest thing ever, which is, of course, this scamdemic, right? But they have bought into their programming so much that they are in full lockstep, and they're doing exactly what the NWO has programmed them into doing. And it's very scary for all of us because we can all face this situation in our own lives, our day-to-day lives. I mean, I walk around in my hometown and it bothers me to no end when people leave the sidewalk, right? Like they see me coming and they're, and it's like, because I'm not going to leave the sidewalk because I'm not an idiot and I'm not wearing a mask. I mean, I get people yelling at me for not wearing a mask in public,
Wow.
It's just insane. And it's like, you know that it's not their fault, right? That they're this way, but their ignorance has allowed this to manifest to where it is.
Yeah, man, it is I kind of had a lesson this past weekend. I went to a friend's place for dinner, and they had a friend show up that none of us had seen in like 25 years. It's been a long time. So I saw this person, and it was nice seeing them at first. I always thought they were nice back in school, but then after a little bit, they kept asking me what I do, and it's hard for me to explain to people. So I tried to get around it. And then one of my friends threw it out there and said, he does this thing on YouTube and da da da. So then I had to kind of try to get into it with them. And then I quickly realized, just as you're saying, this is one of those people that are completely and totally programmed by the system. I mean, God bless them, but they have a family, they have little ones, they have their own business they're building. So that's their whole focus. So when you start trying to take them out of that in any way, with some of the stuff, I mean, there's no way I could cover the stuff I know fully with this person, but I could tell that they started coming against me, and then they started trying to explain to me the way things really worked, you see, and I don't take that. And they were even being kind of rude about it. And I told them, I said, you're being really rude. I said, listen, for the last 20 or 15 years, you've been doing your business thing. I've been looking at this stuff. Okay. So trust me, I know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to argue with you. We can agree to disagree. And I was nice about it, and everything parted on decent terms. I'm not going to get in a big fight over this stuff with someone. But yeah, I forget that sometimes because I stay away from most people. The people in my life are the ones I want there, and that's it. So sometimes even I forget, like, oh gosh, that's right. This is what it's like dealing with somebody in the matrix still, so to speak.
And it's difficult because we all, I mean, unless you're off the grid, we all have to shop. We all have to, go to the hardware store and, go to the post office and do all the regular things. And, they've got, like, the majority of people, the thing is that, people don't realize that television is evil, right? They don't realize that. Like, television is so evil. It always has been, and it always will be, as long as it's going to change into something else, but you know what I mean? The media itself is evil. And if people don't realize this, because they don't think critically, they think that they have free will because they're brought, their realm of thinking is so controlled that they give you opposite spectrums, and they give you alternative, and they give you boogeymen, and they give you certain critics that will go against the grain that you think. And so, like, if you live in that realm, like whether you're on Fox News or CNN or whatever, you feel like you have freedom of thought. You feel like you're actually capable of critical thought and things like that. And you're not at all. You're actually in their realm, in their bubble, and they don't want you to ever leave that. So people that grow up and, have families and work in communities and stuff like that, they have everything to lose by having their paradigm shaken, right? If you shake the paradigm, like for instance, 9/11, right? If people, I know people that they can't even contemplate that 9/11 was an inside job, because that would shatter the foundation of their paradigm, their world, the way that they see the world, right? They have a view of the world and it makes sense to them. But if you pull the rug out from underneath them, then it all falls apart, sort of thing. So they can't move beyond that. So you can't even begin to reach a lot of these people, because if you do, you would put them in such a situation where everything that they believe in would come into question. They would have to like literally rethink their entire life, what they do on a daily basis. And the average person, the ritual of reading the newspapers, or going to the internet sites, or coming home and watching Netflix, right? The average person doesn't realize how much mind control they are under. They don't realize the evilness that exists. And we know exactly, like, we have a very good understanding how evil this media is, and this beast, and what it's trying to achieve. So it's very frustrating, because it's like you don't want to ostracize people or yourself from people. You want to be able to fit in, because it feels awful when you can't get along with fellow human beings. But there are moments where, there's almost no way to compromise. And like wearing a mask, for instance, is one of those things. It's like forcing people to wear a mask. Well, that's a line I don't cross. You're not going to do that with me. If you're going to force me to wear a mask, I'm not going to your store. Right? I go in the grocers and I purposely walk the wrong way down the aisles. They started this months ago here in Montreal.
I've been doing that too.
Just to get reactions from people. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm always been like this ever since I was, as long as I can remember as a kid. I've always been rebellious, sort of thing. If everybody's doing something, I do the opposite, sort of thing. And maybe that's why I'm here. But the thing is that it's so disturbing to see how a mob can turn against you, a mob that feels. And again, KJ, I've been talking about this, dealing with the George Floyd riots and the mob mentality. And like, okay, have you seen the video of the guy with the sword in Dallas that was attacked by a mob?
I'm not sure what happened on that one.
Yeah, so there was a restaurant guy. I think he owned a business, and he was trying to keep people from looting his business. So he had like a big Bowie knife or something, right? It was like a military style knife, almost like a sword kind of thing. And there's different video footage of him, because you know how all these different people have smart cams, right, or whatever, and they're walking around with their phones.
Instead of helping, they want to get the best footage, of course.
Yeah. So the original footage that started going viral just had him screaming and chasing after people with a knife, and then it quickly got, they quickly disarmed him and beat him to. I mean, the guy, I thought he was dead for sure. They beat him so bad. And then as more footage comes forth, and I was showing this in my video, you start to see, well, wait a second, he was actually just defending his business, and they were pelting him with bottles and rocks and stuff. And so he went a bit Rambo sort of thing, and then they just nearly killed him. Well, what happens is you see about 20 people mob him, and everybody's just hitting him, and one guy even takes a stone or something, or a brick, and nails him right in the head, and then all of a sudden they stop, and the guy's body's all contorted, and he's face first in the ground, and he looks like he's dead, like 100%, and they're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, right? And so the people that actually did this, all of a sudden they realize, oh my God, what have we done? Well, what has happened is that they have become part of a mob mentality. This is psychology, right? Gustave Le Bon and others wrote about this, how to control the herd, how to control the crowd, and that what happens when people get into a mob is they lose all their individuality. They lose their ability to think critically. They just become one mind, like a hive mind. And then they start doing things that they normally wouldn't do. And this was a perfect example where people were actually killing somebody. And then they realize, oh my God, like it's too late at that point in time. The damage has already been done. But you're seeing this happen. And this is perfect. This is exactly what the NWO wants, is that mob mentality. And that's why when all these celebrities come forth, when Colin Kaepernick and Soledad O'Brien and Ice-T and all these people come and say, burn it all, basically, in their tweets or their social media, they are actually killing people, or they are actually directly responsible, because then they're so influential and millions of people see that, and then they're justified in going out and burning things to the ground, sort of thing. So we've seen them orchestrate this entire thing too, with the knee. You know about the knee, right? With Colin Kaepernick taking the knee.
Oh yeah.
Many years ago, and now the knee, it's the exact same knee, of course, that was holding George Floyd down.
Great connection.
I don't know if you know this, but it was like the very same day in France, they had the exact same thing play out. In France, they had a police officer, do the exact same thing, where he held a black man down with his knee. It's just people, it's sorcery, man.
And then just a couple days ago, Colin Kaepernick did a tweet that was basically telling these people to keep pushing violence and destroying everything. Here's one of those stories you're talking about: celebrities blasted for donating to protester bail fund as rioting violence escalate. These freaking goobers.
Yeah,
I mean,
who is that?
No, that's Steve Carell. That's from a new TV show, Space Force, on Netflix. Steve Carell, Janelle Monáe, Seth Rogen, Ben Schwartz. Seth Rogen is a real piece of work.
Did you see his tweets from yesterday?
I haven't, but he's just a real dirtbag. I need to do a full-on video on him. The symbolism alone, he totally understands. He knows. I mean, I believe he's a member of the lodge, if you will. Anyway.
The real lodge.
Yeah.
Not the Freemason one. Along with Ben Schwartz and co. They are orchestrating. So Seth Rogen yesterday tweeted or put it on his Instagram. He was saying, you know, he put this post out saying Black Lives Matter. If you got a problem with this, stop following me, right? Basically, stop effing following me. They always swear, right? And so all these people were writing in things like, yeah, but all lives matter. And his response would be, F you, you know, screw you. But what about other people? You know, what about white people? Do they matter? F you, right? Right away. You can see this, it's just insanity, of course. And of course they have they're chameleons, right? Because they will tell you that Black Lives Matter, and then if you ask them about white people, they say white people don't matter at all, and you can't be racist towards white people. And then you say, well, aren't you white? And they're not. And then if you say something about what they are, then you are an anti-Semite. So
Yeah.
you see how it works, folks. It's different strokes for different folks. And they want, so they put forth, like, I don't know, have you seen the BLM playbook and the Antifa playbooks? Have you seen?
Let me pull that up. I think I got that one too. Give me a sec. I'm just looking at the top here. Me and you've been looking at the same stuff.
Yeah,
Here we go.
nuts.
Is this the one? Is this the one?
Hang on a second here. I gotta see.
Is it
Yeah,
right?
is that the Soros group there?
Yeah, it's explaining all the approved practices, how to do hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, that one. But there's also the Antifa sort of playbook in which they talk about white people as being the enemy of all of humanity.
What? No way.
Yeah,
Is that legit? Like, is that verified? Because,
well,
you know,
yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're finding it amongst these people, right? And again, like, yeah, can I say 100%? No, I can't. But you can see that this is not all that far from what the beast media puts out on a regular basis.
man, they just want to, everything it's just bathed in deception, because a lot of the BLM I've seen, you know, they have just been protesting. It seems like a lot of the problem comes with Antifa and other things, but then you add in, as you were talking about, the herd mentality, the hive mind of that, and people just go nuts, and then all kinds of people start acting out and being bad, you know. And so I want to feel like I still think BLM in its own way can be obviously a bit extremist. They've been behind some things like what you're talking about right now. You know, but I'd like to think there's elements of it where they just truly want to protest. I'm okay with a protest. That's what America's about, they say, but it never ends up that way. You know what I mean? That could all be just the cover story. I understand, you know, but you see, I'm going
to send you this because it's the Antifa manual. If you haven't seen it, it's just it's insane, because it's like all about how cis white people are the bane of all civilization, and especially cis white males, and that you know there's absolutely, you know, nothing that you could do negative towards these people, that these people are like the most evil people. And then they say, if anybody confronts you or anybody challenges you, right? So this is the Antifa sort of way, right? There's no logic, there's no reason. It's all like, you know, you automatically have a response to anything. So if somebody questions you and says, what about, you know, say Jewish involvement in the slave trade or something like that? Oh, you're Hitler. They're told to say that right away.
Yeah.
You know, just equate everything to Hitler. And it's pretty insane. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, I got an article, at least I can send you this. And
cool. You gonna do it in the private chat here?
Yeah, I'll send it to you in the private chat. I mean,
cool.
Again, we don't know 100%. Snopes will debunk it, of course.
Oh gosh, Snopes is just the worst.
Snopes is terrible, folks.
Yeah.
Snopes is CIA, basically.
He was joking, of course. All this fact checkers are always, you can't even say hard left. They're Marxist or Luciferian even. Well, they're hiding behind, I think a lot of these people hide behind Marxism. I think a lot of people hide behind atheism, and they're really Luciferian, like in Hollywood and politics, but that's me.
Yeah, I think what happens is that you have the people that are behind it all, and they are the Luciferians, right? And they're used, like, they maybe whip this stuff up, but then you have, because like people, like I showed a video, and people are questioning the authenticity of the video, saying, oh, it looks like it's probably staged. I just put this up before I went on, you know, maybe in an hour or so. with you here. And it's a white woman that's walking down the street. The white woman is walking down the street, and a black guy comes up and he says, "Hey, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me." And she looks scared and all that. And he goes to her, "Hey, can you, I'm from BLM, and I'm just wondering if you could, go on your knees," kind of thing, because
I haven't seen this yet. I've heard of it. This is new, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
Find it. I wonder if I'm allowed to show that.
you could. It's on my channel. I'll give you the link to it here.
I'll find it in a second. But go ahead, because I just brought up the Antifa manual. But keep going. Because they may not have heard about. I just saw this morning.
Yeah. So a white woman, and then he says, "Can you?" So she goes down on her knees and "Can you apologize for your white privilege?" And she's like, "Oh." And he's like, go ahead. She's like, "I just want to think it out because, I want to make sure I say it properly," sort of thing. And then she's like, "I'm really sorry," and all this, right? And so, and again, could it be scripted? Yeah, absolutely. But is it inconceivable that SJWs, that white women that have been so programmed by their media, would actually do this stuff? It's not inconceivable at all. You see it happening every day.
Also, sorry, I just want to clarify something too for people that, like the BLM thing, when I try to seem like I'm defending, I'm not. What it is I'm just talking about the innocent people that get into this, that have a good heart, that really think they're doing the right thing for their communities. There are people that do that. They don't realize how many levels of deception are taking place and how all this stuff is truly being organized and funded by George Soros, and right. So they don't see that or get that. So there are good people, just like in churches. I don't agree with all the different dogma and the kind of the religious aspect of that walk of faith, but that's just me. But there's a lot of innocent good people that are Catholic or Mormon, or that go to some of these churches that maybe have strange dogma. Okay. But I don't blame those people. So I guess in a way, like I say, I'm looking out for the sheep. You know what I mean? I'm really thinking about the innocents, because there are so many that are really innocent, that totally have no idea of the levels of deception going on and what they're getting sucked into.
Yeah. Basically, you're saying that we can't blame everyone because a lot of people just don't know. They're under mind control, and they have their intentions are good, right? Because they feel they've been so heavily programmed into thinking, well, they have guilt and they need to, they need to do they have to be proactive. They have to go out and protest. They have to talk about their white guilt. I mean, you showed this. Well, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing your show because I showed it as well, which women were paying in I think it was in England. They were paying like $2,000 to have a meal with a couple SJWs, like a black woman and another woman, to get lectured on their white privilege.
Oh yeah, I showed that, and I got one even worse. And I know you probably saw this. There's a video that came out probably 2-3 months ago of black Hebrew Israelites. I think they were in New York City, and all these different white couples, and specifically young white women, coming up, getting on their knees, and kissing and licking their boots and apologizing.
Yeah, and again, if you go back to the porn, the blacked thing, right, where they're getting the white women and the black men, this is all psychological sort of warfare that they're using on whites, on blacks, on everyone. They do the show Get Out, or the movie Get Out, which is Jordan Peele, who's married to the sister of the CEO of ButtFeed, which is what's her name there?
I didn't know that.
Paredes.
It's so funny how they're all connected. Look at like little Susan.
They're all connected. Yeah, and Jordan Peele says he's half black and half something else, right? So you can take a guess at what the other half is. But he put out the movie Get Out. In the movie Get Out, it's about white people in, say, Connecticut, for instance, right? Like that are, using mind controlling black people into being sex slaves and gardeners and stuff like that, right? But these types of narratives that they put out, they reinforce the racism. Like what they want blacks to think is that whites are inherently racist, that it's in their brains, that we're inherently racist, and they want everyone to think this. In Canada, aka Rainbow Unicorn Land, where I'm from, the CBC, all the media here, which is all New World Order media, have been pushing the racism towards Asians because of the scamdemic, and they're saying all this stuff about how they're bringing these Asians on, and there's no evidence provided whatsoever. There's like almost zero evidence of anything that they're saying, but they're saying all these Asian Canadians are being accosted and verbally assaulted and even physically assaulted because they're Asian, and they're being blamed for the coronavirus. And it's all about racism, and we have to end hate. So who's the biggest pusher of end hate? Well, ADL, right? The Anti-Defamation League and the Human Rights Watch, which is all the New World Order. And they push end hate, end hate, end hate like it's going out of style. And really what everyone needs to understand, every single human being that listens to this needs to understand, end hate equals end freedom of speech. That's what it means.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because freedom of speech is being able to say the most offensive things that you could possibly imagine, but, you know, and offending whole peoples, whole religions, nations, you know, ethnicities. That is your right as a free citizen. Does that make you a good person? No. Does that make you somebody, you know, but that's your right because that's freedom of speech. The alternative is totalitarianism, and that's what they're trying to bring in. So,
yeah. I mean, it's interesting too. I was thinking about this the other day, but we're really facing the revenge of the rainbow children as well. I know you saw this story about that new Twitch moderator that identifies as a deer.
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, it's a classic. It's a male to female trans and identifies as a deer, but it was talking, but it's glory. I mean, just like in a pure joy, talking about the power Twitch gave them as a moderator and how people better be scared. And they even said at one point, because most people on this website, Twitch, are white supremacists, and I'm coming after you. And I showed it to the people before, but it's a classic example of somebody who's been completely and fully programmed exactly how that generation's supposed to be and how the powers that be want them to be. Right, as just completely out of their minds, in my opinion.
Oh
right?
yeah,
right, completely out of their minds. But then give them power. You know, it's the revenge of the
Yes.
rainbow children. You know,
well, that's how it works. Because, I mean, you know, there are documents going back hundreds of years that illustrate the whole plan that's happening right now, right? And so it's all happening. You know, to control people, you have to, you know, like if you're a small group of people and you want to control a nation or you want to control the world sort of thing, you have to destabilize everything. You have to pit everyone against each other. You have to push people into extremes and make them fight each other. You have to use the media. You have to use the banks. You have to use all these different methods to constantly keep people in stress and control them and, you know, constantly have them at each other's throats. And this is exactly what we have manifesting right now. It's out of control what's going on. And you've got the whole document there, and you can see, I mean, yeah. And if you look at Antifa and you say, okay, hypothetically the document's fake, and, you know, they would say, oh no, the Snopes would say this most likely made by white supremacists, right? This is what the ludicrous narratives is like what they're putting out now. Look at all the news articles that are claiming. I just had the dumb turds before doing a podcast on it, claiming that it's white supremacists that are behind all the violence that's happening across America, which is absolutely absurd, folks. I mean, I've looked at hundreds, if not thousands of videos by now doing all these live shows, and I'll tell you 95% of it is actually black folks that are involved, and that's not to tar all the black people, because there's tons of good black people and there's a lot of black people that are trying to stop it. All right, but most of what's happening, most of the violence is Antifa and blacks that are involved in it. Now there are whites and there are definitely agent provocateurs, and there's all kinds of funny business going on. But there's so many layers of deception with what's happening. But if you look at the Antifa handbook and then you look at how the average Antifa person speaks, there's no difference. It's exactly from the playbook. Like there's no, you know, logic or reason to their dogma. There's none. It's just white people terrible, white males, cis white males, worst thing on planet Earth. Cis white males. Now did you see from years back? This might have been 2015, where the woman who does the show, the women, she's that little bugbear, you know. She's like a cave troll. She's I can't remember her name, but she does a show for HBO. I think it's called Girls.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I can never remember her name, but yeah, she's the writer and creator of that show, and she acted on it as well. And she, yeah, I know what you mean. She's a big time lefty, you know.
Well, yeah, she's of certain religion, but
Right.
she put out a video with her father and saying that the world would be much better off without white men, specifically cis white men. And they put this out, and it went all over Twitter. And it's this is what they do daily, folks. They do this daily.
They're agitators, absolutely. I mean, they're in their ivory towers. They have all the money, all the great food, all the drugs, all the sex, all the whatever they could ever want. So it's easy for them to do all this virtue signaling and glorify all this stuff and fund these people and fund the violence, because they believe that when the system breaks and it eventually goes what they believe will be a communist or Marxist type thing, that they'll be on the top. It'll be like Hunger Games. They'll be,
they are on the top right now.
Right.
Like they're in the club. Okay. So it's for them. This is what they want. This is what Seth Rogen wants. This is what all these people want. They want to see us, killing each other. They want to see us hating each other. They want to turn all the minorities against the majority in every way, shape, and form. And they want to manifest this new world order. And the new world order phrase is being used everywhere these days. I mean,
even here. I've been reading a bit of this as we've been going, and I'm going to share this on Friday on my show too, and maybe you look more into this. But I mean, if this is real, like, wow. I mean, how much more proof? I mean, they're straight up talking about the one world government here, and they're talking about the connection with Antifa and BLM and everything else. So it's absolutely wow.
And this is very akin, because I say it's like Khmer Rouge or something, right? It's like communist manifestos are almost always the same. They're totalitarianism. They're like, everyone that's not us, we will crush.
Oh, yeah.
We will not stop until everyone believes exactly what we believe in. Right. And this is very evil, extremely evil. But this is the mindset of Antifa, without a doubt. You see it manifest in the crowds and just in the chaos that they create. And so they use these people as weapons. I did send you the link if you want to see it there, which is the woman. It's pretty short. It's the woman who gets down on her knees for the BLM.
Okay, cool. I got it. Let me bring that up.
You can bring that up. It's really short. It's like 60 seconds or something.
And I'll take it off this screen, but I was just going to share. This is that Ice Cube tweet where he put the wrong guy up next to the.
Oh yeah.
Right.
People are claiming too that the guy's in a TV show, a cab driving TV show. But I don't.
I saw that. See, this is where the hoax tard stuff comes in, and it gets annoying.
You can. That stuff's probably purposely put in there.
Yeah.
But I do believe that somehow they created this. Like, I don't know if he actually died or what, but I believe that this has been orchestrated, sort of thing. Yeah, this is it.
I'll play this. Here you go.
Excuse me. Hey, excuse me. I work for Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry. I work for Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry that I scared you. But since I work for that company, my CEO has told me to come out today and to bring you on your knees because you have white privilege. So if they see that a white person is getting on their knees, that shows solidarity for the situation. And could you just please apologize for your white privilege? Just apologize. It's big. It's large in this country. With this country, we have that president, Donald Duck, that clown in office. He's brought a lot of bigotry, and you're not a part of it, right? No. And so, just... Okay, you have a great day.
Wow. I mean, is that I mean, what do you think about that?
Could it be scripted? Yeah. But nonetheless,
yeah, even if he was pranking her, it seems her reaction was real. And that's a real shame.
Is is it inconceivable that a lot of people or a lot of people like that person would do that? No, you already see it in many ways. So whether it's scripted or not, and what people are saying on my channel, people that are saying, oh, it's scripted and stuff, they're saying it's race baiting and that they're trying to infuriate whites. But they could, they do multiple things at once, right? Where they could be trying to infuriate whites, but also push blacks into doing the same thing. Ridiculing the white women. Again, it's another example of a Karen, right? And here's a good Karen. She's actually, admitting her privilege, sort of thing. But this is all their black magic, that they're able to manifest this stuff, right? And that people are actually doing, that. I mean, again, it could be staged or what, but we know that in reality that this is happening, like that people are actually acting this way.
Yes.
And like we mentioned before, that event that we both, or that thing that we both covered, where white women were paying $2,000 to have a meal with two colored women who would berate them for all their white privilege. $2,000, right?
There's people who will pay for that kind of a thing. It's unfortunate, man. I mean, these are the, like the people in Beverly Hills that are donating to Antifa and groups like that on the low. They must think they're, doing it for the people or something. And they're just clueless. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. You've got the guy here with the brick piles that they've been setting up.
Yeah. I want to show the people this real quick, because I know you've seen, there's a lot of tweets about this, but the mysterious piles of bricks.
Right here? Yeah, they put them there on purpose. Setup. They put them there on purpose, y'all know where we at. They gonna set them on right up on the route. Y'all know what building this is right here. I ain't even gonna say what name it is. Hey, where do them bricks go to? Where do them bricks go to? Where do them bricks go to? We gotta do better. Ain't no damn construction. Gotta do better. Ain't no damn construction around here. I see. Ain't no damn construction around here. You just gonna set a pallet of bricks right there. Oh, okay. Listen, I did jury duty 3 months ago. Y'all don't keep no bricks right there. Do better.
Good for those guys.
We need more citizen journalists like that,
Yeah, and that's the Minneapolis courthouse that is set up. So they strategically are doing this, and that's Antifa that they're claiming did that.
Right.
But then what the media will do is they'll spin it and they'll say it's white people, and it could be white people are mostly in Antifa, anyways.
Right.
And now you've got Trump declaring Antifa a terrorist party, or a domestic terrorist, right? So now you've opened the whole door with, right? You've allowed this again. This is something that a narrative
executive power or emergency powers.
Yeah, you've set the table now. So now we have martial law. There's curfews in multiple cities across the United States. You got, like, I just saw Hollywood Boulevard, and it's almost like a Hollywood movie. There's all these armored vehicles and stuff and soldiers in Hollywood there. And, like, this has all happened because of what they've orchestrated. And, like, we were doing shows when the whole thing kicked off with the Kobe thing and talking about tanks going in the streets and martial law coming. Well, it's all manifested. I think in many ways that what you had in China, they can do whatever they want because it's a communist totalitarian dictatorship, right? So whatever the government wants to do, it's going to do, right? It's not that it's going to be easy. It's not that every citizen's going to do exactly what they want, but they have total control, kind of thing. Italy was a great example because Italy went full martial law, and you saw like mayors coming out threatening to use flamethrowers on their own citizens for breaking a violation. I have all kinds of Italians that are messaging me all the time, telling me the horror stories about how they lived in absolute, everyone was forced to stay inside. You weren't allowed to go out unless you needed papers. You needed, like, it was just so insane. But they couldn't do that in the United States, not to that extent. Now they can. Now the United States, all of a sudden, now you have a curfew. All of a sudden, and you see what's happening. Like, have you seen some of these videos where they're going down with armored personnel carriers and stuff like that in suburban neighborhoods, and they're firing bullets at people, rubber bullets and stuff at people, pepper bullets and stuff like that at civilians who are standing out in their front porch or whatever, right? Like,
hey, sorry, I just want to say real quick, man. I had this tweet. I just put it up just before we started the show. Yeah, it's already a suspended account.
What was it? Do you remember?
I can't remember, man. That sucks.
Damn, that happens. That's so
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they are definitely. Twitter's very, very much the beast.
Oh, that I think that was the clip that showed full-on tanks going through a suburban neighborhood, and some kid was filming from his house, like his bedroom window. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, and people, it's reminiscent of what happened because we talked about Jade Helm and all the urban sort of, preparations that they've done, perhaps all leading up to what's happening right now. Yeah, that's the one. That's one of them for sure.
This is one of them. I know what you mean. The other one,
there's a bunch of them now.
And here, I'll play some audio for the people.
Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in! Get in! Oh, God, that hurt. You good? Are you okay? Right on the fucking crotch. Are you okay? You got hit? I'm good. They're both for that, dude. What? Okay.
Here's the other one.
Look at this. They just keep coming.
Oh, go inside! Get inside! Get inside!
Oh, the same one.
It's the same one, but there's a bunch of them.
I'll go ahead and stop it.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I mean, take a look because, we should be beyond, of course, the left-right paradigm, red, blue, Trump this, Trump that, good guys, bad guys. What we got to be paying attention to, and most of us are, at least around here, all these elements of what I call the beast system falling into place perfectly, or the final game of the New World Order. Or the age of Aquarius, however you want to place it. But we see that this control mechanism coming in globally, and now we're seeing these things in our streets. I mean, we've seen this in some cities throughout America right after riots and bad things. Okay, I mean, I've seen this kind of footage
Boston
times, but the
Boston bombing, they did that.
Right, but this will be a different one. How long is this going to last? That's the big question, right? And how used to this are people going to get, which seems like this is the perfect opportunity for them to do that, to get people used to this.
Exactly. They're getting you acclimatized to everything. So that like just the acclimatization of wearing a mask, of standing 6 feet apart, waiting outside to get your groceries, of going into a hardware store and having essentials divided by non-essentials. Like they're getting you used to the whole lockstep that they planned out. Like it's all happening, just like they're going to get you used to the mandatory vaccines. The Trump, of course, one of the things, okay, so what is this ultimately leading to? Well, Trump is going to use the military to give out the vaccines for the COVID. So keep this in mind. You know that, right, KJ? He came out and said we're gonna use the military to inoculate everyone.
Yeah, see things like that and I did talk about it when it came out. Those I'm on a wait and see basis, because no matter how they bring that in, that's going to be the final dividing line. The day they start trying to make something global, mandatory globally, especially here in America, coming to your door and putting something in your arm, that's when this army of millions of gun owners in America are going to stand up, and that's when you're going to have America's just going to be falling apart. It's going to be insane.
Another thing that they're doing, because like I showed this the other night when it was Oakland, and I was covering the footage really late. It was like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, and so Oakland had these massive protests that were going. What protests? I mean, it's rioting, right? And clashes with the police, and so all of a sudden they just blacked out the entire city. It was really creepy, and it was like, oh my god, they just cut the power. And of course, they've been doing this, setting up these narratives. And this is one of the things that they talk about with the dark winter, of course, that is all being coded for this winter coming up. There's going to be a dark winter, right? You've seen the symbolism for that for a long time.
A storm coming as well. It's another
storm. One. Yeah. Storm clouds gathering. Storm is coming. Storm rising. Red storm rising. It's everywhere, folks. They're coding this.
That's another one. You always
another thing
rise up. Yeah.
Another thing I talk about a lot is the waves. So they use the waves symbolism a whole lot. Like like what I was showing with CNN, for instance. CNN, when the whole Kobe thing was kicking off, and they were allegedly like all these people dying, say in New York City, right? And I say allegedly, and I say that strongly because I don't believe any of it. I think it's a whole scam, the entire thing, right? I think it's just the common flu. But the thing is that they would have crisis actors on acting out their roles, and they would have these interactions with, say, Brooke Baldwin or Chris Cuomo or whoever, right? And they would be talking about waves and waves of emotion and waves of feelings and stuff like that. And I was saying to people, the waves is symbols of what's coming, because they're going to hit us with a wave after wave after wave, and they're not going to give us a chance to catch our breath. And just when you think you're clear and things might be going back to normal, then you get another wave. So it's like what's happening here with the corona thing. They started to lose, I think in many ways, they were completely losing the narrative. Like people are questioning it. A lot of people are standing up against it. As you said, a lot of people are waking up and all that. And so then, boom, another wave comes before we even have a chance to catch our breath and get a little bit of normalcy. Now America's on fire, and now you've got tanks and armored personnel and National Guard in all these cities, and it's all just wow. I mean, can you believe this? What's going on?
It's happening so fast, man. It really is.
It's scary because it's we've never seen this, folks. I mean, you have to go back. I mean, you can't really have, there's no precedent for this, not in American history. You go back, you go back World War II, or you go back, even Vietnam War and the protests, those were tiny compared to what's going on now.
Yeah.
The violence was trivial compared to what's going on now, right? So I think things are much, much worse. I think we are all really feeling it. I think the anxiety is so high, it's palpable, right? And the tension, and this is leading. It's almost like in many ways that they purposely put us in such an anxious state, and then boom, the George Floyd thing happens, and then all this release comes with all these people just burning things and chaos and like just violence, right? And destruction and vandalism. It's like they purposely bottled us all up and created all this tension, and then boom, they let it go, sort of thing, and it hits like another wave. And it's very, very concerning. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Have you covered any of the, because some people have theories as to, of course, everything's with these situations is orchestrated in one way or another, but there's a lot of things happening with the Department of Justice in America, and there's all these new things coming out about Obama, and it's like obvious stuff about Obama being connected to watching Trump, during 2016 and on, and we know a lot of Obama's people were implanted in our government and all that stuff, so all that stuff's starting to come out. Some people think these things are being popped off because that truth is about to pop. And there's all these people that think Obama's going to be in cuffs now, and Hillary. And it's like, I wish,
no chance.
I wish. No, seriously, I would love to see that. I don't know, but it's really interesting. Here's just a fun, we're thinking here. We're thinking out loud. But here's a fun theory. I've done videos on Obama in the past. I cover some of the stuff more on the spiritual tips sometimes, and there's a lot of interesting Antichrist things surrounding Obama. Even with the Yes We Can, you play that backwards. You can put an app on your phone that can play things backwards. Say Yes We Can, play it backwards. It's Thank You Satan. There's some strange things there. People have had dreams and visions. A lot of people think he may be the actual Antichrist. Well, if that's the case, how fascinating would it be that he is still running things behind the scenes? Everything he wants to have in place is happening, right? We're seeing it fall in place, but Trump gets to be the ultimate fall guy. And I've done videos on this in the past where Trump is the tip of the spear in that sense. And I do see him being the fall guy. Like they've been setting him up as this ultimate fall guy. They can get everything in that they need to do. And then at the end, just keep blaming Trump or whatever. You don't see what I'm saying? But at the end, its will still be done. Again, guys, just thinking out loud. Some people are with me on this, but just throwing that out there. But go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think it's all a big show. I honestly, there's no chance that Trump is legit, or any president has been legit for a long time. I think they're all just puppets, and I think they're just playing their roles. I think Trump is the orange-faced ogre. He's the ultimate polarizer, and he's purposely put there to divide America. I mean, think about it. They give you the well-mannered, well-spoken black, sort of intellectual, he's loved by the entire world, and he's got just this demeanor to him. And then they bring in this white privileged orange face with the terrible hair, misogynist, and he is the ultimate polarizer. The Make America Great Again, by the way, is a slogan from the Purge movies, right? So all these things that have happened are all foretold or have been shown to us before even Trump came along, including Trump's presidency and, The Simpsons. And, I don't need to repeat all that stuff. So I believe Trump. And if, of course, if you look at who backed Trump, I mean, it's all, it's unbelievable. It's mostly, people that you're not allowed to talk about. A very, very powerful cartel of APEC, basically, that was behind the Trump presidency. I think it's all a big game. And I show, I give the examples of Hillary Clinton. When Trump was inaugurated, the Clintons showed up to the inauguration ball. What color did they wear? Well, they both wore purple. And purple is the symbol. It's the transition. It's between the blue and the red. It's the blue and the red coming together, which is symbolic that they all serve the same hand. They just play their roles.
Well, so speaking of that, have you seen anything about the palace shutting down in the UK? Like they boarded up the windows and no one knows where the Queen is. Have you seen any of this kind of stuff lately? There's a video I found.
Well, didn't they do the same thing with Trump where he went into his bunker the other night?
For the day, but I think that the thing of the Royal Palace is ongoing. It's like people are saying, and also they removed the crest from the gate.
Yeah, and there could be signals that they send to each other because they like this. Yeah, they do that type of signaling. We showed when the whole the day that the so it was 3/11, by the way. So the 3/11. Yeah, the 3/11 predictions turned out right, but it was just, and that's kind of what I said too. I said, what if it's going to be March? Right, March the 11th, and March the 11th was the day that the pandemic was announced globally. So for historical sense, even though it's a scamdemic, right, and even though the definition of a pandemic has never been solidified or agreed upon, and that what we have happening is anything but, the according to the official narrative, 3/11 was the day that the scamdemic started, sort of thing. And what did they have happen? They had the guy, the Indian sort of a finance minister for the British government, and he was walking with a green briefcase that turned to red, or it went from red to green. Like he was walking. Yeah. You remember that?
Think about that.
Yeah, and even the media covered that, and they said, "What's the mystery behind the briefcase that turned from red to green?" And what I was saying back then was that it was a signal that the whole thing was on. That the New World Order was going forward, and that's why it was such a big deal, and they showed it, and it was a big spectacle and all that.
Yep. So, I've done videos on this as well, especially around the crown virus, but it's all about signaling. I mean, come on, man. You know about Chet Hanks' chest, and you've probably heard, I've done a breakdown on it. But right, he's got the virus symbols, he's got the caduceus, he's got the WHO over the Illuminati pyramid. It doesn't get much more clear.
The caduceus too is really interesting because this is what I showed with the Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant was the Black Mamba, right? So he's a snake. And at the same time that Kobe died, Monty Python, Terry Jones died. Terry Jones, so the Monty Python, another snake, Python, the twin snakes, right?
Good one.
And Gigi is the daughter, of course, of Kobe, who allegedly died with him. Gigi, of course, is 7'7". Terry Jones died at 77 years of age. So I was showing all this, like all the symbolism and coding of the snakes, like the caduceus, right, itself, and how this is manifesting. And I even the other day when the video that was pulled that I got another strike for, which was the whole George Floyd connection to Kobe Bryant, and how Kobe, the whole thing started with Kobe, like everything just was ushered in with the Kobe sort of
great catches on that too, man. That I can't breathe shirt really that was a good one. Wow.
It's nuts because they use that twin symbolism. So you got the twin snakes, right? and the caduceus, right? With which people, if you don't know, that's this symbol of. I mean, there's a lot of occult symbolism to it, but it's the symbol of medicine, right? They use that all the time. And so the twin snakes, and if you think about it, the twins with Stephen Jackson, and of course his twin, which is George Floyd, right? And then where did it happen? Well, it happened at the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, right? So all this symbolism there, it's always draped in symbolism. Everything that they do, this is how they function. Their numbers, their symbols are over everything. This is how they manifest their black magic, right? Like how they're that's the realm that we're in. It's sorcery. Like it literally is sorcery.
It
like
really is.
I don't know how to explain it other than to show you how it's all connected, but I don't know how they're able to manifest it. It's like the movie Hereditary. I don't know. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I put that in a video as well. There was a lot to break down. The name of the demon in particular was something with a P, not Pokemon, but it was some specific demon that's a real demon.
Yep.
But yeah,
Panjob or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene where they manifested the death of the little girl there, right? The mentally handicapped girl with her head colliding with the post there, and it was like they knew exactly where it was going to happen and how, like they somehow manifested that like almost impossible sort of thing to happen exactly where they knew it was going to happen.
They had their sigil on there. They were using sigil magic, so they were putting intention on it. You know, that's why all these books I've read and stuff, I'm fascinated with Alice Bailey. You know, when you read Alice Bailey, it's interesting. She's an interesting character. You can't just say she's evil right off the bat. You know, but she uncovered a lot of things. And unfortunately, I think she's one of these people that fell more in love with the knowledge than with the Lord, if you will. You know, that's where she went wrong. But there's a lot to be gained from Alice and Foster Bailey's writings as far as information on how these people work. That's how I see it, you know. And yeah, absolutely. It's all about intention. Everything's intention with these. That's why when we're watching movies and TV shows, it's important throughout these last 10 years. So many of us have been showing people there's these symbols in these movies. And here's why you need to know, because many of the times there's an intention placed on those symbols by a human or spiritually on that for you, you know, to control your mind or to insert an idea into your head, you know, about cheating spouses or, you know, demons always win or just whatever wickedness and nastiness it is. That's how those spells work, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And so much of it just works to control us. Like, and then, you know, in a way it can be a form of gaslighting for people like us that might be a bit too aware of how it's all manifesting, because it's like scary to behold their power. And to witness it. Like, I am very troubled right these days by how they've orchestrated this chaos. Like it really disturbs me, because I see how I underestimated how quickly they could, you know, just destabilize our entire civilization and undermine the Constitution and everything. It's like they had this planned out so well that they like, and I believe they're using AI too. I mean, to you know, constantly sort of adapt to how things are going on a daily basis. But like, yeah, the level of control, because it's like, even if we do get momentum and we start exposing a lot of what they're up to, they just throw something else at us. And then next thing you know, you're just trying to, like I said, with the waves, you're trying to catch your breath. I mean, it's great that you got little waves up on the screen here. But, you know, no, that you don't need to take that down. That's beautiful. But,
Thanks,
you know,
man.
the waves of the symbolism of what's happening and what they're telling us about waves. And I've had a lot of these characters show up on my videos saying that it's all going to unfold and it's going to get really bad and it's going to get a lot worse. I'm talking about people that claim to be part of this NWO sort of thing, that this is the real deal. It's all going down and there's no ever going back to normal. And I think that I think we understand that, and we don't like that at all, and we want to fight that. But
yeah,
I think it is happening like that,
but
it's going to change forever.
I'm with that, but I'm also with the, us trying to fight it. Why else are we here?
Of course.
And I hope people are trying. And in America, like I said earlier, it's not the same in every state. It's all like regional right now, what's happening. So where I live, it's really not that bad. There was a little bit of not even rioting, protesting in the city over the weekend. So, I mean, it's been pretty chill out here. It's kind of.
Are you in Oklahoma?
I'm in Oklahoma. I'm smack dab in the middle. I'm in the Midwest. But so, we're probably going to be one of the last to ever be affected because we're so far away from the coasts, and that's where all the stuff really kind of manifests.
Do you have like a large black population there, or not so much?
I'd say it's mixed. I'd say it's probably 70-30 or 65-35 or something like that. Yeah, okay. White to black, I would say. But
yeah,
you're good people here, man. It's very Bible belty, and and you see it all the time. I mean, there's good people in the Midwest, and so I'm with you that they're obviously making their move. And, we obviously want people to not just sit back and take it. That doesn't mean go out, start hurting people, but, you're going to have to stand up and, we'll see how this thing plays out. It'll be different for everybody. And if you see a place where you can get in and be a part of the good guys, the good numbers and fight back somehow, then do it. I wouldn't want you to put yourself in danger, but again, we'll see how this goes, because if we really are seeing end game, and this is where it's heading, and it may take a little while, maybe take a couple of years, maybe it'll take a little less. Who knows what madness is next? We just went from the crown virus, global lockdown to this rioting stuff all over the place. Who knows what the next card is?
Yeah,
it could be war, alien, man. It could be the alien card.
I would anticipate war potentially with China, which is a narrative that they've been building up.
Yes.
Also, when Bill Gates was asked about it, and this is very telling because Bill Gates smiles and laughs when he's asked about these things. He's a psychopath. There's no question in my mind he's a psychopath. But he was asked what was the second thing that he feared after a virus, and he said bioterrorism or weapons being used, biological weapons. So, you could have alleged terror attacks happening in major cities, and we could just be hit again and again. And then with each wave that they hit us, we grow more accustomed to the police state. We grow more accustomed to not having anything of normalcy. And then we get used to the new normal, which is tyranny, tanks on the streets, soldiers everywhere, a police state, going through these, scanners and these disinfection sort of chambers that they're going to put us through to get into grocery stores, the contact tracing. Now, one of the things too, KJ, the contact tracing, okay, because it's so evil, like just period. The contact tracing is absolutely evil, folks. There's no question. There's no justification for it.
They're
never in
running
the history
over here, Jeff, for it. For me,
Pardon me?
they're running commercials for the job over here where I live. Sorry.
Contact. Oh yeah, because 300,000 contact tracers being hired. They
trying
put
to hire now over here.
HR 6666. You cannot make this up, right?
Yep.
It's even got an extra 6 on it, folks. But HR 6666. I'm sure most people know about this, but this is the bill that was passed, the emergency bill that's passed by the White House, in which now they're going to hire 300,000 contact tracers to trace everybody with the COVID. Now, one of the scary things that's happened, now there's a lot of things about this contact tracing that people need to be aware of. I've been all over this since the moment that they announced it, sort of thing. First of all, I talk about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? So you know about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so anybody that might not know, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon is that you're only 6 degrees away from Kevin Bacon yourself. So you know somebody, right, that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows Kevin Bacon, basically. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're using Kevin Bacon a lot in this. In fact, they're even using the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon in this. If you look Kevin Bacon, in a search dealing with COVID, you'll see all these different articles popping up. Now, why is this important? Well, that's how contact tracing works. You see, you might think, well, if I go to the store, there's not much chance, that I'm going to run into somebody that has it. But you don't have to run into somebody that has the COVID. That's not how contact tracing works. You see, you could go to your local corner store to buy a loaf of bread, but somebody else went on the other side of the town or the city and went to a fruit market. Because that person that had the COVID went to that market and you went to the store that you went to, you could be contact traced. And it's like, well, how does that work? What do you mean? Well, think of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Because how does contact tracing work? They find every person that alleged person who has had the COVID has been in interaction with. And then, so they find every person that they've interacted with. Then they go and they interview every person and they find every person that they've been in interaction with. And then they do the same thing again with those people. So you see what happens is eventually that 6 degrees, where we're all 6 degrees away from each other, meaning that anybody can be contact traced at any time, regardless of where you've gone. You don't even have to be anywhere near somebody that allegedly was infected, because this is how the contact tracing works. It's extremely evil, folks. And so what's happening now with the contact tracing, and again, with the contact tracing, it's having an app in which your phone can, identify other people and communicate with other phones, smartphones, and that information, oh, don't worry, we'll keep it safe. We're going to respect your privacy. But all that information is being collected by Apple and Google that are sharing it with the governments and the New World Order itself, the WHO and co. Now, they can effectively quarantine anyone based on that, which means that if you just came in contact with somebody that came in contact with somebody that came in contact with somebody that might have had it, you can be forcefully quarantined for 2 weeks. And that would mean even in your own home. And with HR 6666, that means that if you are in a home and you live with other people, they'll have to remove you from that home, because then you'll infect those people. So then this is where the FEMA camps and stuff come into play, right? Because they have to set up areas for setting up these people. Now, to make matters worse, folks, is they are using contact tracing, and they announced this in Minnesota. So I showed this last week, where the governor and the chief of police or whatever, it's the governor and the health official for the state came up and they did a press conference, and they were talking about they're going to use contact tracing to find all the protesters or all the rioters. And they're claiming, first they were claiming that the rioters were from mostly out of state, right? And then they were claiming that the rioters, the people that were causing the damage, were linked to white supremacist groups. Okay.
Yeah, that's been the new narrative over the last few years.
Yeah. This is all bullcrap, because the reality is that even the local newspaper went and fact-checked this and found that they went and found all the people that were arrested, and they said, I think it was 86% of the people were Minnesotans that were arrested. So they were citizens of Minnesota. They weren't brought in. And they're mostly black, of course, right? Because you've seen it from the footage and all that. But the thing is that now, all of a sudden, contact tracing, which was supposed to be for COVID, is now being used to track people that are rioting and to get into all of their groups. Because what they're saying is, we are going to use contact tracing to find out who these people are connected to and which groups they're involved in, and then be able to infiltrate those groups and all this. So they have snuck this contact tracing thing in, and now all of a sudden they've twisted it. And where it was supposed, we'll respect your privacy and it's only to keep you safe and all this, now all of a sudden the state is using it for crime, for alleged crimes, and for a completely different thing than the virus. And what we say about the New World Order is, when they bring these things in, they never go away. And the 9/11 being the best example of it. The TSA never went away, right? The Patriot Act.
You bet.
Patriot Act gets renewed, the National Defense Authorization Act gets renewed, all the amalgamation of all the different sort of agencies, none of that got reverted. So everything stays. They say it's because we want to keep you morally safer. But the reality is, it's all about the Hegelian dialectic. Like the solution is what it's all about. The solutions that come in, now we're setting up, and they're setting up the facial recognition cameras. Guess what?
Yep.
Nobody gave them, they're not allowed to do this, but they're doing it. It's already done. The facial recognition cameras have already been laid out. All your airports, all your train stations, all of that have it. All your sports stadiums have it. I showed this years back where the NBA, the NFL, the NHL were all saying we're going to put facial recognition in all our stadiums. And it's like, what?
That's why, man. God, they're getting us so. I mean, dude, it's going to be. We're really going to have to think about this stuff because you're going to have a choice. And, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take any kind of mark or let them put anything in me. Y'all see that video of Bill Gates gleefully talking about shoving a needle in a child's vein? You seen that one?
It's unbelievable.
You see that? Gleefully. He's like giggling.
Yeah.
Guys, these are monsters. These people are monsters. So, we're going to be looking at, people living off grid, so to speak, in communities. I think, again, it'll be a real dividing line.
Well, did you see? Okay, what's his name there? I showed this on my channel, which is the famous criminal lawyer, Epstein's lawyer and Trump's lawyer, Dershowitz.
Oh, yeah, Dershowitz. I did see that interview. Go ahead and tell the people.
Yeah. So Dershowitz gave an interview to this guy, Jason Goodman, right, in which he said, this is on YouTube, and I showed this on my channel. It's on Jeff Censor, but I showed it where Dershowitz says, you do not have the constitutional rights to refuse vaccination. You do not have the constitutional rights to not wear a mask. You do not have the constitutional rights to not social distance. So this guy is supposed to be a constitutional expert, and he has inverted the Constitution. I mean, it's unbelievable. This guy is such an evil son of a B, right? But he's in this interview saying basically that you have no right to refuse anything that they're going to do, and that you're going to have no choice whatsoever but to take the vaccine. And then he was pressed, and he's saying, I'd be the first in line, and I would be the first to get my family vaccinated.
It really is the whole boiling dog, the boiling frog motif. I guess in some places it could be the boiling dog motif, but no, it really is the boiling frog. Because think about it. Ever since, again, not just putting it all on Trump, I'm just saying as far as timeline. Ever since he got in, we've seen massive censorship on social media, not just in America, but around the world, but specifically here in America. So you got that Chinese-style censorship coming in, social credit systems coming in. As you just said, facial recognition cameras coming in. I've shown some videos.
Drones.
I was about to say, I've shown some stories about police, all over America getting these drones. So, yeah. And then you're talking about these kind of decontamination chambers they're going to start having in public. I showed some videos of some of that. I got to
show you that.
Show me that.
Got to see that. That's so insane.
Was it in Amsterdam or Sweden?
No, it's Toronto.
Okay, I saw something from.
Hang on, because you got to show your listeners this. It freaked me out. Toronto. I'm gonna try to find it because I have a video on it, but I don't think I have the link in the description. So I'll just put this in Toronto.
Cool. I'm looking at chat. I see someone saying, "Oh, great, let's just talk about the problem." I'm just gonna address that. I just turned on the chat over here on my side, but man, it's XX. That's actually a pretty interesting band if you heard of the XX. But the XX has its own symbolism. Even with SpaceX, I'm going into that in my newest video. I'm talking about some of this stuff, but enough of all that. No, man, I hope you're listening to everything. We do talk about kind of the problems at times and what's happening, but we also talk about where we're going to go from here. What are some possible solutions? We have different ideas of that. Ultimately, my solution is, I don't even like using the term Christian anymore because it's so kind of been destroyed, but follower of Christ, a believer in Christ, a lover of my Heavenly Father, being Holy Spirit filled. I've said for years, to me, that's the end of the rabbit hole. We can explore all this other stuff all day long, but at the very end of it, I find Christ. That's me. That's my connection to the Lord. I'm not hard-handed about that. You all know this. I'm cool as far as I'm not evangelical. But that's my kind of, it's one of my answers for you. Jeff and I will have other answers as well as we go on, but I'll just throw that out there. Anything you wanted to add to that as you're looking that up, Jeff?
I got it. No, I agree. Spirituality, I mean, just religion, Christianity is a great way to come together.
As an example?
Yeah.
Is another one?
Exactly. You know, like be the change you want to see. Set
I'm
the
not
example.
Gnostic. Yeah.
Yeah. Be, you know, like just set the example for others and take charge and build your own communities and get off the grid, get away from their, don't watch their television, don't watch their sports, don't watch anything. Form your own communities and you know, we have the tech that we can use to our advantage to harness energy and stuff like that, and we can make our own communities in which we do not partake in their new world order, you know. Those
Yeah,
are
and
potential solutions.
I'll just throw this out there. It's one thing I've always admired about you is your tenacity, and no matter what they do to us wherever, whether it be YouTube or somewhere else, I know that I can speak for myself, and I believe you're the same way. We'll continue somewhere. This is what we do.
Yeah,
We'll
exactly.
always find a way, and the people have been so great. So, for the support and all that. Somebody said I'm a Gnostic. I can't stand the Gnostics. So no, it's not a Gnostic either. I'm just talking about there's a religious spirit. There's a big difference between people with a religious spirit and followers of Christ. There's a real big difference. That's when you get into religion, you get into astrotheology, you get into dogma. What is there, like 30,000 different denominations of the Christian church in America, and they all think they're right? That's wrong.
And a lot of them are controlled by the NWO.
A lot of them are controlled by Masons, and by extension, the NWO. Absolutely, So I just say it's relationship, not religion. That's what I say. And have your own personal relationship with God through Christ. That's what I believe, But
I think, also defend the Constitution at all costs, right? Like,
yeah.
Those are the things that are constitutional rights. Never budge on that. That's the line in the sand. Make a line in the sand, and that's it. And that's the line in the sand, okay? Like, look, folks, we're either going to live free or there's no point. Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, don't compromise your freedom ever. I mean, Benjamin Franklin said, those who exchange their liberties for more security deserve neither, kind of thing, right? Paraphrasing, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's true, right? Like, don't compromise on those things. Never compromise. The Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. Never compromise on any of these things because they're written and they're in your Constitution for a reason. Because it was all safeguards against tyranny. So we all have to stand. Like, I believe that's where, forget about I don't care what color you are, right? I mean, I love people. I mean, I probably love
just
black people more than anybody.
You're cool.
Right?
I like you,
Yeah, like, it doesn't matter. They create the racism. They drive it into us and they condition us into it. We can get rid of this so quickly in our own sort of communities. We don't need their television. It's all evil. But yeah, look at that. Look at what you're showing there. Isn't that insane?
That really is. Toronto artificial intelligence startup creates disease screening tool for retail stores. Wow. Yeah, I've been looking for more like this. I found something. It's a decontamination chamber they had set up in restaurants. I want to say it was, like I said, Sweden or maybe Amsterdam. I don't know. But yeah, it was just, couples sitting in these diamond-shaped kind of, little covering tents that were see-through. It's unbelievable. Come on. And,
look at this, folks. This is what they're going to expect you to go through. Now,
that's beast system, folks, right? That's full-on beast system. You're just a number.
And these things can detect everything about you. First, they can collect your DNA. They can detect if you've had alcohol. They can, like, if you read into it, it's insane. They're using AI, and they're going to be able to detect if you're properly social distancing. I mean, they're going to detect if you've got a temperature, if you're any sort of sickness you might have or something like that. All of a sudden, imagine people walking in that have like heart conditions or something, or like suffering, not in the greatest shape, and then all of a sudden they're trying to get in to get some groceries.
Okay, here's some of it. I'll read a little bit. The firm's infection and protocol screening machines, which take the form of standalone pods or walk-through booths, use artificial intelligence, infrared thermography, and multispectral cameras to detect symptoms within seconds. Wow. And can even recognize cognitive impairment from substances like alcohol or illnesses like dementia. Meanwhile, its social distancing compliance software uses security or drone cameras to detect whether patrons are wearing masks. Wow. And can also measure the physical distance between the individuals and alert staff of potential risks. That is just... Look at this, guys. That is, wow.
Going to your gym, you're going to have to go through these things. And the airports is even worse, folks. What they're putting in the airports. Wow. This is the new normal.
Man, I want to move back to the jungle. I say it all the time. I'm not kidding. I want to go back to the
agree, man.
jungle in
Yeah.
Central America, man. Even if I got a dirt floor, I don't care, man. The
Yeah,
weather-
it's the damn right. I mean, at least you're not gonna have a floor that's gonna be reading your body temperature.
right.
Right. I mean, it's insanity what they're doing to us. And look at the flower sort of, or I don't know what
Right.
that symbolism they're putting there on the side. Like, don't worry, it's safe, guys. Just walk
It's
through.
fresh. It's fresh. That's how they'll put stuff on food labels. They'll put like a beautiful plant or a flower. It's fresh. It's all
Yeah. They just put a plant on it and say, "Don't worry, it's safe. It's good for you." This is the beast. This is evil beyond belief, folks. And this is going to be the new normal. They're going to do this. They unless somehow we stop them. But the thing is that really, like I'm thinking at this point, yeah, you got to kind of move back to the jungle or the woods to get away from all this, and because they're gonna do this. Like I mean, people need to stand up and stop this. But look what's happening. I mean, look how easily it is to distract people and get them to focus their energy on something completely different, right?
Yeah, and that'll definitely be the big part. Is people wonder, what can I do? How can I fight? And that's again where I go back to kind of the spirituality of it. But it's having a connection with the Creator, through Christ, praying about these things, asking for guidance, not being a lazy ex-gen, or so-called Christian that just prays about things and never puts any action behind it. Like really ask for guidance. How can I help people in this time? How can I stop this, encroaching totalitarianism? How can I fight back from this beast system? On your own, ask, have a real relationship with the Lord, and ask, because we each have our own roles, and they may change and grow as the years go on. I don't know what Jeff and I will be doing when things continue over the next few years. Who knows? Maybe we'll have our own meetups somewhere, or maybe our own groups. Heck, maybe we're all living together out in the woods.
Yeah, we can make our own community sort of thing.
Right? For real, we could all be our own communities someday.
I mean, you look at like, for instance, the Amish, right? And I mean, if they're living the way that they're supposed to live, sort of thing, it's quite beautiful. Because they reject the technology. I don't think you need to necessarily reject all the technology, because I think you can use it and harness it, like solar energy and stuff like that. But I also think, though, in many ways, like, because I did a show this afternoon with Camille, and she's like real expert in all the foods and how they're transforming all their foods on a molecular level, like, right, like the synthetic biology that they're using, and they're putting into base, sugars and stuff like that. They're creating all this synthetic stuff, and like the real solutions that we talk about when we do those shows is that it's the same thing, where it's like, we got to go back. We got to step back to move forward. Like, stepping back means, it doesn't mean full step back. It doesn't mean like everything you have to cut out. But I think like you cut out all of the beast, right? You use the tech that, not any of the surveillance tech or anything of that, but you use things like solar panels and different methods for growing crops and whatever else to maximize yields and just get away from their system and form your own communities of like-minded people. And you have a basic decree of what you allow in your society and what you will forbid. And you have to forbid everything that's coming from the beast, because the beast here is going to be awful for people. I mean, you're seeing it right there on the screen. I mean, come on, are you serious? This is what we're going to have to go through to get some groceries. And how do you know what these systems are actually really trying to find about people, and what they're really doing to your bodies as you're walking through them, right? And what if it's, and again, the whole contact tracing thing it's not, look, the whole virus thing is ludicrous. In fact, there's a German document that was leaked where the German government basically admitted that the whole thing was a scam. Okay, so they're saying in Germany that this is a complete scam, and this is the same in many different countries that have done their own independent studies, that it's a complete scam, and that the numbers are completely wrong, and that it's no worse than the regular flu season in terms of death, and almost all the people that died were going to die anyways. They're just people that are elderly and stuff like that. So I firmly believe that they have whipped this whole thing up and it's all about the solutions. They create the problem with their black magic, with their media, right? With the beast media, and they throw it out there. First of all, they program you for many, many years through the movies, through the television shows, through the video games. I mean, think of all the television shows that mention, you know, outbreaks or themed on outbreaks or Ebola, all these different things. They get you seeing it all the time so that you're afraid of the invisible boogeyman, right? And then you're seeing the video games and the movies and the television shows that have these outbreaks all the time. So you're already been, you don't even realize it, but you've been programmed into what they've done. Like they have, and I 110% believe this, folks, that over the past 20, 30 years that they have programmed humanity into being terrified of viruses so that they can bring in the solutions. So all these movies, like, we showed this, didn't we? Last time I was on your show. Do you remember this? When did Contagion, the movie, come out?
Gosh, was it 2003-ish, or am I wrong? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But it's been a while.
But I'll give you a clue. It's one of the most important dates.
No way, 911?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No,
you can search it right now. It's the reverse. Where, okay, so I'll show you.
Go ahead, and then I'm going to tell you something random. You know how I can be random. Here's something that just popped in my head.
Contagion came out. You cannot make this up. Okay?
Okay.
Contagion came out. Where do we have it here? 2011. And the release date for it was September the 9th, 2011.
Wow.
You cannot make that up, folks.
Well, and if people might be like, why does it matter? If you haven't seen Contagion, it's almost a blueprint kind of for what just happened. It's
100%.
Yeah.
It's the script. Right down to Sanjay Gupta playing himself. Like Sanjay Gupta.
Go ahead and explain that to the people. Go ahead.
I showed this video. It was hilarious. There's a black dude, and he's like, I ain't no conspiracy theorist, but ain't that the same Nigger that is on CNN? And he's saying the exact same stuff. And so he's showing him on Contagion, saying, you know, we got to practice social distancing and wash our hands. And there he is on CNN saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
9 years later, right? And yeah, this is so 9/11. We know that's their biggest number sort of thing. And here you go. Contagion came out on 9/11, and it's the exact blueprint, right down to the very details, where it's the bat that, you know, ate the banana that dropped it to the pig got butchered, right? And that's the whole story, basically, is the bat soup and the, right, you know.
So ridiculous, man. But
yeah, it's
so important to point out. It's incredible. You're right, that we're looking at their black mirror. We're looking at their magic, you know, the way they conjure and create. And like I say before, I think it's a mix of people understanding what they're doing, and then on the other hand, I think sometimes spirits work through people, but it all works for the same goal. Enslaving humanity, it seems, you know, ultimately is the goal. And here's the random bit I was going to throw out. I know it's a bit random, but there's a lot of odd connections between Trump and Obama. I've put in some videos in the past. Here's one that just occurred to me. I found the other day. I hadn't seen this before. The One World Tower, there's tons of symbolism there, and the destruction of the twins on the towers. And I've talked about that in so many videos. You've talked about some of that, I'm sure. But the one Obama signed like a beam that was supposed to go at the very top, like near the spire. It looks like a religious spire on top of the One World. And he signed it something like like 3 W's, we, or something like that. But the day he signed it was Trump's birthday.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always finding these strange little things. That's why I know that they're important for each other, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole thing is.
Oh, absolutely, because the symbolism of the 2 towers falling and the 1 tower rising up, it's all part of their Freemasonic sort of Babylonian rituals that they we're dealing with something, folks, that it's unholy, right? It's evil. We're dealing with a level of evilness that's been around for thousands of years, and now it's taking over completely.
Hey, this is kind of off of that subject. I'm sorry to interject, but I wanted to, and please continue if you wanted to continue.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
but I wanted to show this in just a
Oh
second.
yeah, I put that up
You missed
today.
me.
Show that.
Oh, you saw it
Hilarious.
too? I should have
Yeah,
known.
I put it up on my channel there, which is hilarious. It's the white SJWs who are trying to cheer on the rioters, and they smash the windows. Yeah.
And again, I didn't mean to be rude, but did
No,
Jeff
no.
catch you off, Jeff? Is there a
Not at
point you
all.
wanted to finish or anything? You're just talking.
No, that's it. Perfect.
Right on. All right, check this out, guys. This was again, as Jeff said, some privileged white kids, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
from their window cheering on the looters. And here's what happened.
Why are you on your side? We're on your side. Holy shit! We're on your side. We're on your fucking side. What the fuck?
And that's what these dum-dums don't get, unfortunately. And so many people, and you know this, is that there's an energy in these people, whether they're black, white, or brown, who are doing this violence and stuff, and they don't like you. They don't want to be your friend. They don't care about you. They just want to see things burn and be destroyed,
Yeah, a lot of them are so angry towards whites, and you can understand to a certain extent. They've been, again, there's definitely real racism, but there's also a lot of manipulation, a lot of programming that Hollywood, and co do on a daily basis to constantly divide and conquer. Now, you think about women, right? I talk about feminism all the time. Feminism is the New World Order. It's a weapon. They program women into thinking that they're victims of males, and that they've been victims of males forever, right? And they use shows like Mad Men and The Handmaid's Tale and all these different things that are specifically scripted to program women into feminism. So it's the same thing with the SJWs. They grow up with their Hollywood movies. They're programmed from a very early age with the Disney cartoons into this type of activism. Just like the Extinction Rebellion, like another perfect example.
Oh, yeah.
All these kids that are brought up by the beast thinking that they need to take down capitalism, right? And stop having babies and depopulate the planet. So they're basically, and that's why it's no stretch at all to believe the Antifa manual is exactly what what we showed there, because
and that's why we know there's like a pagan root to all this too, when I see it, because all these people have more love for the freaking earth, for trees, and for animals than they do their fellow human beings. So we have that occult side of it as well. This is I believe the mayor. I was just going to show the Minneapolis Attorney General. It's the Attorney General of Minneapolis. So, I mean, this stuff is so deeply rooted in American government and politics anyway, and it's unbelievable. But, at least it's all being exposed. I mean, it really is all coming out. Everything is coming out, and that's a good thing. More truth is good. At least that way people can make informed decisions,
Yeah, it needs to come out, but I mean, it seems like it's hopeless for the generation that they're so hopelessly programmed, and they've been brought up that way. It's like the LGBT people as well, and they these, like you mentioned the example before, right, where these people are given huge platforms and they're given all kinds of accolades, and you look at oh yeah, hey KJ, by the way, we talked about this, you might want to talk about this, right up your alley, which is Jeffree Star and his cosmetics. Have you seen the latest palette that they put out?
No, but I did see, kind of related, that Keemstar, Leafy, and Rice Gum just launched a new clothing line called Axis of Evil. It's got a bunch of demonic crap all over it. It's like, come on, kids. I mean, because like you, I watch a lot of the mainstream stuff. I watch more mainstream stuff than I do conspiratorial stuff, really, because I have my own mind on things. Like you, I have my own, make up my own mind. So I watch TMZ and I'll watch Keemstar and Drama Alert and all this other stuff to see what the kids are talking about, see what they're doing to the youth. And that's oftentimes how we find the programming that's taking place. But yeah, man, just always back to demons, always back to evil, always back to horns.
They're not good people. I know Keemstar, and no, these guys they're Leafy too. He went after so I have a little bit of history with Keemstar, but
tell me, why not?
No, it's not really all that big deal. It was with Philly DeFranco, because when I was exposing Chili D, he was watching my vids and stuff. So we were corresponding on Twitter because he liked because that's his competition, right? On YouTube, he likes when people like me expose Shilly DeFranco. And then with Leafy, he went after Red Pill, aka TMF, right? And made a very interesting. Just before he disappeared, he was making these videos. So there's a lot of bizarre things going on. They're very, very aware. You know, Shane Dawson too. You know, kind of reached out to me at one point when I was exposing his butt as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, these people are they're very, very aware of our realm. In fact, they are obsessed with our realm. YouTube, of course, with the conspiracy realm, has spent like they all these characters, whether it is Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, you know, Hi Thifter, James Charles, they all do conspiracy videos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right?
I've seen it. Shane. I saw Shane a video with him meeting little Susan, talking about, you know, now that you're doing your, you know, you guys are going after conspiracy videos. Am I safe? I mean, so yeah, I've seen some of this stuff too, and of course, their conspiracies are so freaking like, you know, level.
Well, yeah, they're stupid, like Chuck E. Cheese
dumb.
recycling pizzas, but. So Jeffree Star is the biggest cosmetic guru probably on planet Earth now, and he's a wretched Satanist, you know, that dresses up as a girl. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's got like the top cosmetic brand in the world. Now, did you see the Bloodlust palette with the Saturn cube and the purple and the Corona crown and all that? Did you see that?
No, let me find it. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking.
You got to show this. This is nuts. We showed this way back when it came out. So this came out just before Corona really came out, sort of thing, right? So maybe last December. I'm not sure exactly the date, but it's all their symbolism. So you look up, you just look up Jeffree Star, Bloodlust, and then maybe do a Google image search, and you'll see. Bloodlust. And then check the images, and there it is. So check it out. Yeah, look at it's the hexagon, so it's the Saturn cube, and you see the blood. You see up there on the left with the Bloodlust, the crown, with the crown is dripping blood. So the crown, if people don't know this, that's what Corona is. Corona is a crown, right? Like it's technically that's what it stands for. It's crown, or like also like a crown, like a halo around a sun sort of thing. So the Bloodlust had all these nasty sort of palettes in it. Now his latest one, KJ, that just came out is called what's it called? Crematorium or something?
Look at this. He has pentacles and a crown at the top, and on the bottom he has pentagrams.
Yeah, exactly. It's all satanic.
Right.
So yeah, his crematorium, I think, is what the new Bloodlust is called.
And the
you got to see this. It's insane. Like the
crematorium.
I'll just put this in.
I'll look it up.
Jeffree Star cremated. It's called cremated palette.
Cremated. Okay.
And it's very similar. And you look at the names of the different makeup sort of palettes, and your mind will be blown. It's all about death.
Wow. Oh, here's one. It looks fairly clear. Let's see. Expensive star power print.
No, that's not it. It's the black and white. It's cremated. It's all, yeah. You see it there. No, there. The just below.
Oh, here. Okay.
Yeah, the palettes is all gray and black, right? So
and the one eye symbolism, of course, in the middle here.
You got to see the names of the palettes themselves.
Do you see it anywhere?
I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to send you a link to it right now here.
Here's a purple crown.
That's so these people are huge insiders to this new world order. Right. They know exactly. So
a lot of the people in The Simpsons are a part of this sorcery, because it's very hard to find, and you've never hear anybody talk about it. But there's a movie that Harry Shearer and Michael McKean did, and they're both voice actors from The Simpsons. It was a mockumentary on the Bohemian Grove, where they mocked the whole idea that elites would meet at some club and plan things in the world. They're totally mocking it, making fun of it. very early on, many years ago. That's one of
Yeah.
those gems that YouTube's probably removed a million times. But again, that goes to show you that, again, it's that Masonic kind of connection to a lot of this so-called entertainment. That's why 911 was programmed in so many Simpsons things and so many other things, because these people are aware, according to the stars and the numbers, this is when that event's going to take place, and it's going to mean this and that and the other. I've got this UFO video I was hoping to have up a week ago. I'm still freaking tinkering with it because I watched the SpaceX launch. Now I'm putting all that into the UFO video because that was another ritual before your eyes. Did you ever wonder why Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos' rocket ships look like penises?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a reason, folks. Yeah.
Check out the link. Okay, so I sent it to you.
Okay,
there.
I will.
And
let's check it out.
Yeah, so folks, this is because they know what's going down, or because like it's all about death now. So the second one has the actual image there that shows you all the different. So this is the most popular makeup palette in the world, basically.
Oof. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, total death cult, man. Death cult. That's skull and bones, guys. That's why there's the skull.
Look at the names on them, KJ. Look at
Curse, Angel of Death, Grave Digger, Death Certificate, Rest in Peace, Pallbearer, the Morgue, Goodbye, Last Respects, Life Insurance, Eulogy. Yeah. Hello. these people, it's just another extension of that freaking death cult. That's what these people are into.
Yes, and they're coding massive death to all of us, right? This is they're getting people into a death mindset that they're gonna depopulate the population,
and you can you can see some of that in the rioters. Again, wherever they come from, you see the wickedness. Oh, I think that's the same thing you just showed me, isn't it?
Yeah. I sent you one that was just
cool.
the close up of the image, but yeah, it's the same tweet basically. But yeah, that's Jeffree Star. You got the one eye symbolism there, and I mean, it's the urn. I mean, it's all about death, and so they have been. The first one was all about blood and monarchy and bloodlust and drinking blood and vampirism and all that, and this one's all about death. And these, like, if people don't understand this, these, like, now your top beauty gurus are all Satanists, and they're all men, and they all put makeup on their faces, or they're transgenders. Now this gets the rabbit hole, and this is very deep, KJ. We talked. Okay, so me and Camille being the food expert, but she's also like looking into the cosmetics, because all the
who is she, Jeff? I'm sorry, but who is this girl you were talking to? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've worked with her. We do a show together, Jeff C and Camille. It's Please Stop the Ride. She's great, fantastic.
Okay. I'll check it out. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, so what we're showing, okay, is that all the corporations now, a lot of these corporations you haven't heard of, but they're funded by Bill Gates, Jeffrey Bezos, and all these characters. They're all the same people are involved in this, okay? So they're changing the base products in our food. So this is what's happening. The FDA just lifted restrictions on food manufacturers. They started with vending machines, and they're saying, okay, because of the supply chain being disrupted, we're allowing the manufacturers who sell items in vending machines to supplement their ingredients, right? That is because there's a shortage. So what's happening though is that in the biotech world, which is all NWO, they are building our food from the ground up, sort of thing, where they're using synthetic biology to replace the essential regular natural ingredients that you have in our foods, things like sugars, right? They're replacing them with synthetic biology that they are creating in labs. So at the very base of our meals are, like, you could say even things like soy and vegetable oil and all these things are being replaced by synthetic biology. Now, this is crazy because it's all going into our foods and we have no idea how this impacts us. But guess what else? They're not just in the food industry. They're also massively in the cosmetic industry. So all these types of synthetic biology that they're using are going into all the cosmetic products.
Oh, right.
So,
right. There was all that expose a while back about a lot of the fetal cells going into makeup and food, right? So go ahead.
Yeah. So what's happening is that they are changing everything, right? Like they're saying, because we want to save the planet, right? It's all sustainable development. It's all under the guise of sustainable development, that all these biotech corporations, this is like a biotech takeover, are going to produce all the new foods using this synthetic biology, right? To replace all the stock ingredients because, of course, global warming. So instead of growing crops, instead of having real wheat and things like that, they're going to grow these things in labs. And these are going to be at the base ingredients of many of your foods and cosmetics and sunscreen and all these different things that you either ingest, you ingest it orally, or you ingest it, you eat it, or you ingest it through your skin, right? Because, what happens when you put makeup and sunscreen is that your skin breathes and it absorbs those molecules. So what we're speculating is that one of the reasons why they're pushing massively on all the youth, because you look at all the youth and now all these kids are obsessed with putting makeup on their faces, because all the most popular YouTubers, Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, James Charles, Nikki Tutorials, right? All these degenerate satanic slime are programming all the youth into putting copious amounts of this type of makeup on their faces as a daily routine. And so that's why I'm saying Jeffree Star is like, these are the most popular people on YouTube. YouTube's the most popular platform in the world, right? Period, right? Google, YouTube, the most popular thing. So everyone, this is what's trending on YouTube. You know this, right? You see these demons all the time. They're always number one, right? So what potentially they could be doing is poisoning us through their, not just through the food. So I think we all know that, right, to a certain extent, but also through the cosmetics and through the sunscreens and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. Well, also I'll add in, and we know this, but a part of it has to do, ultimately, to me, it always goes back to, it's the children. We've seen all the gender bending stuff taking place as well, but now we're seeing it all in relation to the children. Remember, now we're not seeing as much of that. I don't see that as much of a trend in the news lately. Again, watching this stuff week by week, but it shows me that for a long time that was a large part of the agenda. We know it still is, it's still there, but now there's these other things taking place that are more important, of course. That, like, this is really how we can see them putting the layers in. They had all the social stuff going on, and then the battle of the sexes, the creation of the incel culture, third wave feminism, all that stuff, and then all the the little boy Desmond is amazing, cross-dressing and all this other madness.
Yeah.
So we have that, and then of course, them going to the libraries and drag queen story hour.
Yeah,
we had all that, but now we've got, like, it's getting hardcore, right? Now we got the COVID lockdown. Now we got the riots, and as we're saying earlier, and I agree with you, most likely it'll be a war type, most likely situation. Other empires through histories, other empires throughout history that I've seen, and I've done some videos on this, that were facing collapse. A war was always a really good idea because it's a quick way to interject money and action right into the economy.
It makes a ton of money for the military industrial complex and the corporations. The money these corporations made their fortunes off war. And IBM is a great example,
right?
And Raytheon and frickin' Lockheed Martin and go through the list. Halliburton, yeah, exactly. They make bank off war. And not only that, the pharmaceutical corporations, you can bring in, so, like, war is money. It's a money machine. So that's definitely there, and it's a great depopulator as well, of course, because you take a huge percentage of your young youth now, which is now unisex, right? Or it's unisex. It's both, all sexes, because the trannies are in there as well. But you know what I'm saying? Like the women are now a significant portion of the armed forces.
Well, I think they're going to give them all the rights they could want if we go to another war here, because I've already seen news stories about them talking about a draft and pulling women not only on a draft, but also putting them on the front lines now. So this is where that third wave feminism, in a sense, has led to. And that's probably a part of the plan all along,
Well, yeah, I think there are several objectives with feminism. One of them is to always, first and foremost, is to deconstruct the family.
Yep.
because
Depopulate. Yep.
yeah, depopulation. If you get women getting feminist degrees, right, going to glass towers when they're in their most fertile, because women are most fertile from the ages of 16 to like 24 or something like that, right? That's when they're the best years by far for women to give childbirth, sort of thing. They know that, and they know that if they can take women out of that, right, at those ages, that it's far more unlikely that they'll reproduce in the future. And of course, they'll reproduce a lot less if they even do reproduce. So feminism is a huge weapon to program women against family, against men in particular, obviously, because the toxic masculinity and the endless sort of attacks on men, cis men, straight men, is never ending sort of thing. But yeah, feminism divides the family. It programs women into not getting married, not having families, not having children, and it puts women in the workforce. It gives the New World Order twice as many people to tax, which feeds their whole. That this is it's all our money, right? It's always our money. It's never their money. And that we know with everything that's happened with the scamdemic that the elites have made off. They've made like more money than they've ever made ever. In like Jeffrey Bezos made like 400, or they're talking to the top billionaires, made $430 billion like in a matter of a month or two since the whole scandemic went out, and that's only a fraction probably of what they've really made. So having the women again turn against men, and it's just divide and conquer on every level, right? Like I talk about the ludicrous sort of notion of women protesting. So it's like the Women's March, right? Which we've all seen, which they're so insane, of course, and they all kind of coincided with the Trump inauguration because, of course, he's the orange face ogre that said "grab him by the what," right, sort of thing, and they use that. So you think of the women's marches, and you think, well, they're marching for women's rights. Well, what are they really marching for? Well, they're marching for reproductive rights. And then you're like, okay, that's cool. We should all want to be able to reproduce. But actually, it's not. It's the inverse. And you're like, well, what do you mean? It's the inverse. Well, they're marching for reproductive rights, right? But that's really, they're marching for the right to murder babies, which is Planned Parenthood.
Well,
right?
yeah, and this too. There's also the occult connection back to Mother Goddess worship, back to witchcraft. I've done a few videos on this showing that connection to Hollywood witches and the abortion clinics, Planned Butcherhood and whatnot. But also going back throughout history, all that, and it's interesting. I saw this. I don't know what to make of it yet, but I saw a clip earlier today during one of the riots. And it was one of the people, they all look alike with their masks on and their hoods on. So it's hard to tell who this person was. But they were being filmed and they had just done some kind of destruction. And they went up to a wall and they spray painted the spiral on there. And you look up the spiral if anybody is interested. But there's a few different meanings there. And one goes back to Mother Goddess, okay? And the other one goes back to a pedo logo. Like it's almost looked exactly like it. Again, I'm just throwing this out there. It's something I saw earlier. I haven't had a chance to look into it deeper or try to process it. But even things like that, I just, me, man, throwing out the random stuff. But there you go.
It's so much witchcraft and just divide and conquer that's being pushed. There are certain documents and texts that were released a long time ago that depicted everything that's happening right now, and you're not allowed to talk about that stuff. So, but the whole destabilization. The Yuri Bezmenov, the KGB guy, the former KGB guy that talks about how to completely deconstruct and dismantle a nation. Like,
I put him in my movie. Yeah, that's important. That's a
he's great because he's everything that he's saying is happening right now. It's all happening. Like it's absolute chaos that is being unfolded or is being unfurled here throughout the West, not just United States, Canada, the exact same thing. All that's happening there is happening here, exactly the same. In some ways, it's worse. But yeah, I mean, this whole chaos is their ladder. This is order out of chaos is their motto. They want this they want it to boil over. They want people to kill each other. They want to see violence everywhere. They want war. They want all these things because it helps them achieve their goal. And so this is the unfortunate situation that we're in, is that we're all being like, we're realizing that you just can't, like, this is the reality. Like, you just can't be a bystander about what's going on, because like, and this is like, you and I, you know, I've been over 8 years. You've been almost a decade doing this work, trying to wake people up, trying to get people to realize what's going on. And it's pretty frustrating because, you know, none of this would have happened if people were, you know, if people knew what the media was, if they understood that the media is their enemy, that the media is here to drive them against each other and, you know, dismantle the Constitution and, you know, just create absolute chaos. And this is what we were trying so hard to get people to realize. And, you know, I don't know, I hope it's not too late, sort of thing. But now
we'll keep trying. You know that. You know,
we're gonna try our best.
And I always try to remember that, you know, Confucius wrote this. I always liked it, but that the student will always find the teacher. You know, like when people are ready for certain levels of information, they'll find you, myself, or anybody else that they need at the right time. I believe that. And I also want to throw this out there, man. So we've been going about 2.5 hours and it went by so fast, but we've already covered a lot now. Is there any other areas you want to go into, or would you be interested in maybe opening up to some questions from the people?
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to take questions for the people. I'm just going to go and fill up my water. So maybe that's a good opportunity.
Same.
Yeah,
Okay,
that would be
good.
gret. So
let's take a couple minutes. It'll be okay. Sorry, folks, I don't have any music for you. Chubbs is asleep. I can punch him in the stomach and he'll probably meow, but that wouldn't be nice. So we'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'll put something up on screen, Jeff. Go ahead. I'll figure it out.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Good boy. Boy. All right, you there, Jeff? Hey, Jeff, are you there? All right, he's not back yet. That's all right. So here's what we'll do, man. I'm going to change the screen here. And yeah, there we go. That's fine. I already have that up. All right, here's what we'll do, man. If you guys have any questions for Jeff or I or both, please just put it in the chat and just start it off with the word question. Please just put question first and then ask the question. We'll go through and we'll answer a bunch here for a little bit. Hey, cool. Okay, I'm here too, man. You hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, nice. All right, so I just told everybody that, you know, if you have a question for us, either one of us or for both, just write the word question first and then ask the question. So here come a few coming in. Here's the first one. Do you think 16-year-old girls should have children? From LSAE. Probably joking around here. Well, I don't know. As long as it's not my 16-year-old, I don't know if it's really in my business. I don't know. People used to have children around that age in the early 1900s, and I'm sure before that
even
as well.
Earlier, yeah,
Sure. Like way early, probably even back to Egypt and all that. They had young, like concubines, and young women were getting pregnant, right? Like 12,
Mhm.
13, 14, I guess whenever they could.
Yep.
So there's that LSAE. All right, let's see who else is next here. Scrolling through here. Sorry, guys. It takes me a second sometimes. Scrolling back. Okay, if I miss one, you may have to repost it. Space Lady says, "Why is everything racist?"
Yeah. Well, because who controls it?
Yeah, it's part of the plan.
See,
Right.
it's normal for people to be tribal, and it's normal for people to, be amongst people that are like themselves, right? It's only normal, right? It's not an evil thing. It's just a normal thing. But they make like the way that they split it up is like you're only allowed to be tribal if you're, say, black or you're Jewish or you have to be of a certain thing. But if you're white, you're not allowed to be at all. So there are different rules for all of that. But
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Here's Jeff Armistead. Do you think Floyd is in the Bahamas or is dead?
I don't. Yeah. I don't know that
I don't know.
because the video is so convincing. But
Yeah.
I fully believe they're capable, very capable. I mean, it could be a Hollywood production. There's actually footage from the other side that people have shown in which there's another angle and you can't see the people that were filming it in that shot sort of thing. They should be there. Now, it's possible that they arrived a bit later, but we usually say on a beach in Tel Aviv or something.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, like Epstein. I mean, if I was a gambling man, I'd bet he's most likely in Israel right now.
Yeah.
So that's just me. But all right, here's another one, man. Thanks, Jeff. When is Jesus coming? A lot of people wonder. I sure don't know, but I believe we're in that season. But I don't know how long a season can last because time is different for us than it is for the Creator that we can barely figure out. There's so much stuff we don't even understand, But that's kind of my take on that one. From Baby Dumpling, hey KJ and or Jeff, do you think these Satanists who run the world believe in reincarnation? I can tell you immediately, yes. That's part of the of Kabbalism, is they're big into reincarnation. Also, I wonder why they work so hard on plans they will probably never see in life, because they bought the Luciferian lie. They believe Lucifer really is the good guy. He's the one who provided knowledge for us and guidance, and the Abrahamic God, our Heavenly Father, is the bad guy. Not the Abrahamic, but just say our Heavenly Father, the Most High, is the bad guy, right? So it's all twisted and inverted. I believe these people genuinely believe it. They really do think they're in the right. I saw an interview with the guy that married Kat Von D, who's a famous tattoo artist, and also she's a pretty lady, has a bunch of tattoos on her. And he was talking about, right after their wedding, he was talking about their religion is that he's a Luciferian, and he explained it out perfectly. And that's really what a lot of these people, I think, believe. That Lucifer's the good guy, the one world order is the right idea. It's going to be his kingdom that they're going to win. A lot of them believe in the astrotheology idea that Jesus really is a myth and made up, and none of that's even real. Nothing to see here. Mm-hmm. So that kind of emboldens these people, and that's my take on it. And then there's a whole Kabbalistic side of reincarnation as well. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, that's I agree. Yeah, that's exactly, they this is what they believe in, right? And they want to manifest it. So we're that's it almost like, yes, it matters what you believe in, but it's what they believe in that they're trying to manifest. So it's and what KJ said is exactly true. That's by all evidence. They're Kabbalistic and they're Luciferians and all that. So
right. And also the whole idea of reincarnation also, I believe, can provide them with some relief of their wicked deeds they do in this life,
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to keep coming back. So
well, they're also that
right?
that hermetic sort of approach that they try to fool themselves with, where to do good you have to be able to do evil kind of thing. So they often play that a lot. I show that symbolism all the time. That's the purple and gold, by the way, or the gold and purple, which the LA Lakers and with the whole Kobe Bryant is very telling, all part of their sort of their beliefs sort of thing. So
yeah,
but go ahead.
All right, man. Bloomin next. What made you get into conspiracies? Go ahead, man, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I don't really think of it as like I don't think of myself as a conspiracy theorist, even though probably everybody I know does, at least me. But you know, I've always like okay, so as a kid, I didn't watch television, and so I thought television was evil, and I thought it was mind control, and that was just my own sort of intuition and belief of it. And then when I was in college here, because we have what we call CEGEP in Quebec before you go to university kind of thing, and I was taking courses in media manipulation, which I really got into how Hollywood is manipulating people and how disingenuous most things are, sort of thing. So I've always kind of been into it in a way, and I've always been very skeptical of everything basically. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I guess I would say that mine goes real far back because I went to film school at one point after the military, and even during film school, I was wanting to be a writer director of horror and science fiction, and many of my stories had to do with the New World Order. So I was interested in the stuff back then, but it wasn't until I moved to Hollywood, worked out there for a while, and at one point I wound up finding footage from Bohemian Grove that Alex Jones put up, and most of us have seen that now. And I'd seen a lot of stuff at that point, but for whatever reason, that stuff really messed with me, and I kept going back to it and watching it and looking at everything I could on it. And I didn't have any social media. I wasn't on YouTube. I just didn't look. I was always writing or trying to, work a script out somewhere. I mean, I was just busy with stuff, and it really blew me away and messed me up because I was ex-military. I was a very Republican, very conservative. I thought George Bush was a good Christian man and it was a good Christian family. And I was naive. I didn't know. I mean, I was sucked into it just like everybody else. And that's when I really woke up. And I even prayed. I was like, man, Lord, show me everything. I want to know everything. And I've already got an investigative mind. And I put that to it. And I went down every rabbit hole I could find. And that's when I made the scariest movie ever made back around 2007 because of everything I found. And that's what started me off. It made me give up my Hollywood dreams and everything. That's what made me who I am today, I guess. So that's kind of my story there. And, there you go. Let's see. Here's another one. Excuse me. I was going to answer something on this one from George. It says, do you feel they would fake Trump's assassination? There's another side to that story I was telling earlier. Like, what if Obama's the Antichrist? He's running it behind the scenes, putting everything in place he needs in place anyway through Trump, while Trump's the front man, while he's up there happening behind the scenes, right? Putting everything in place. But what if it turned out that at the end that Obama actually comes out, he is the Antichrist, and then Trump would be maybe the very first person to deny the mark, getting his head chopped off, which takes us back to that image of Kathy Griffin holding his beheaded head hanging up we saw that everywhere for so long. I always go back to that. I'm like, is there something else to that? Now, again, I'm a writer. I'm a creative person. I have an imagination. So I try to keep everything in check. That's one of those where I'm just letting the imagination run, Mm-hmm. But what do you think about Trump's assassination?
Yeah. I wonder why they haven't had another assassination, because it's such a powerful tool of manipulation. So I always expect them to do this. I think Trump's the last president. I think it's done. I think the New World Order is coming forth now, and there's going to be no more presidents after him.
They're becoming too bold. That's what it is. And I mean, in a good way, because everything's being exposed quickly. But yeah, they're becoming so bold. Like I said at the very beginning of this show, I guess we won, and we'll see, because there's a 2-week incubation on CV. And all these people running together, are we going to see these exploding numbers?
Just think about that, though. If they did assassinate Trump and say whether it's real or not, because, it doesn't really matter because people will buy it, that would spark civil war. So,
sure.
Yeah, if you think about it like that, and if that's what they want, because, they showed us with the Marvel and all that stuff that, Civil War type programming. If ultimately this is all leading up to a new civil war, if that's what's in the cards, if that's, the Illuminati cards, which all manifest, then assassination of Trump, whether it be staged or real, and it's almost always staged, but that would that could be the breaking point that would create a civil war sort of
Oh
thing.
yeah,
So,
man. And the programming's everywhere with his assassination. It's insane. It's so I wouldn't be surprised.
would not be surprised. Yeah, that's for sure.
Here's one from Ian. He says, "How did you find out about Jeff C? How long have you worked with him?" Well, I wouldn't say we work together. I'd say we're friends. We have mutual respect. As far back as I can remember, I used to do a show online, and then I'd post it up on YouTube. It was Rigged Reality Radio. It was through I can't even remember the radio station online. This is a long time ago, but that's where I started doing these kind of shows. And I just started interviewing people I was interested in. And you can find the people I interviewed back then I'm still friends with. Benny, and Jeff and Casey from Into the Stars, and the list goes on. There's a bunch of people I interviewed back then that I'm still friends with. And I don't know, I saw something from Jeff back then. I liked it. I liked his angle. And that's how my shows have been. I always invite people on I think are interesting. So that's what I remember.
Those are great shows. I remember those.
Thanks, man. Those were fun.
Yeah.
Well, what do you remember? Is that about right?
Yeah. I think you had at one point, I think you had mirrored one of my videos. Somebody had told me, and so and then I don't remember how we first connected, sort of thing, but you invited me to come on the show, and we hit it off right away, sort of thing. So I think that was like 2014.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time.
It might have been 2013, probably 2014. Maybe 2013. Like it's definitely around that time, sort of thing. And Sandy Hook and all those things were happening. So I was all over that, and you were really interested in those things. I remember. So
yeah, great stuff, man. Yeah, gosh, that was a different time on YouTube. It really was more like the Old West,
Yeah, it was. It's nuts, eh? It's like it's good to see that people like Casey and Joy Camp, guys like that, are still around, though. Because it's it's important that we have that experience amongst us, sort of thing, because it gives us a better, maybe a learned perspective on a lot of these things, because we've been through a lot of this stuff before, sort of thing. So
yeah. All right, man. Well, here's another one too, and this says, have you researched Aleister Crowley's daughter was Barbara Bush and son William Shepard, aka Paul McCartney? Yeah, the Aleister Crowley connection I even put in my movie. There's some clips in there. I've talked about it even in my first movie many years ago. It's a really important one because the Bush dynasty is an incredibly satanic family. They even had Bush even had Ozzy Osborne show up to one of his gala dinners and said something like, my mother's a big fan of yours, or something like that, because he sang a song, Aleister Crowley. I mean, there's just things like this. But yeah, I believe in the whole lineage there. There's a lot of videos. I've shown images of the Bush and his daddy, their eyes being the perfect demonic slits. That's happened on way more than one occasion. And yeah, that's a demonic evil bloodline as far as I'm concerned. Now, as far as the William Shepard, Paul McCartney stuff, I'd never traveled real far down that rabbit hole. There's a YouTube channel called Trev's Chan 2 that I'm sub to, because he always talked about Walking Dead, and I've watched that show for years. But lately, he's been getting into more so-called conspiracies, and he's talking a lot about the Paul McCartney, Fall McCartney, right? The fake Paul McCartney. Do you know anything about that? Or go ahead.
Yeah. Because it was 1966, and I'm a huge Beatles fan. Okay, so I grew up with the Beatles. They were like the best band ever. For like when I was a kid, like my parents had all the records and stuff like that. So. The thing about it, though, okay, because like what they say about Paul McCartney is like that he died in a crash, right? And the original Paul McCartney, and that he was replaced by the Satanist sort of guy, right? The only thing that I would say about this is being a music head, right, and like watching so much stuff on the Beatles, is watching the interactions with Paul McCartney, with Ringo Starr and George Harrison when they would get together, okay? So you can watch a lot of these videos on YouTube. Now, I just want you to think this out. They would talk about the old days, and then Paul would start singing off lines of, remember this one? Remember this one? Oh, yeah. And they would just start playing it, sort of thing, right? And so how is it that the Paul McCartney that exists today is so fluent in everything that happened way back in the days of Hamburg and everything else, and he can just riff off songs that they used to do, and he remembers stories so well. That's makes me think that no, it's probably just Paul McCartney, but you never know. Like, also, there's a film called The Silver Beetle, which is very disingenuous. It's a very popular and well produced. Paul McCartney is, whatever that guy's name was, and there's a lot of lies in that. Like, as a hardcore Beatles fan, like as a kid, I know the Beatles were into Satanism and stuff like that, Crowley and all that.
Freemasonry, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I got into the brain.
Right. That's what we can't,
right?
you can't hold people like that. I liked Dio and, Iron Maiden. And I like
Yeah, exactly. You can't, you're young, you're naive, you get into these things. But, I would say that, that particular, documentaries, it's like a faux documentary, is very manipulative, and it's got a lot of lies in it. Like, I went through it and I was like, that's wrong, that's a lie, this is a lie too. And then the whole, back in the day, the conspiracies around this is very Tavistockian, because the Tavistock Institute, I actually discussed this quite a bit about how the Beatles, some of their songs seem to come directly from this Tavistock Institute. I did a podcast where I really discussed this in depth with Harry Cookie Monster years back, where we're going things through like A Day in a Life and Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane, and we're saying that these songs are actually probably from the Frankfurt or the Tavistock Institute, and they're all about mind control and controlling the masses and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of funny business around the Beatles, but I don't adhere to that Paul McCartney died. That just because I've seen enough of the video footage of him instantly recalling songs and playing songs. And when you're a musician, like, if you know this, right? When you're a musician and you say, well, let's remember that one? Remember that? Like, Paul McCartney gets all excited. He's talking about some song that they used to play in Hamburg or something. And then they just start playing it instantly. It seems very natural. So I would say no. I would say it's probably just a faux conspiracy that the Tavistock Institute whipped up.
Cool, man. That's a good answer.
Yeah, it's a bit long-winded.
No.
I enjoy that, though. I like to talk about that, though.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's always been an interesting one. The next question's fairly easy. What do you think of George Floyd's Masonic connections? We covered that earlier on. He does have looks to be a double-headed eagle on his chest. The Orbo Abo, Order Out of Chaos. He's standing next to the Corona, and even his hands. I was trying to show that earlier, but I forgot to show the next screen. But it was it looks like the left-hand path, the entered apprentice left over the right. You can see a lot of pictures of Masons doing the same thing, or putting their hand in their chest, the hidden hand. Possibly, there's some things that happened even on the scene. Some people have made note that the vehicle was 32, it was 320, so 32, 32nd degree Mason. There's a 6 that was spray painted on a trash can there. I wish I could see images before. I don't know if the 6 was put there, if it had been there for a long time, or
it's actually technically not a 6.
What is that?
No, because I went through it when I did it live, and it's kind of like it's like a circle with a triangle above it, sort of thing.
Okay.
But it looks like a 6. But if you look closely, it's actually it's not technically a 6, because you can see the white sort of coloring sort of thing. So, but it looks like a 6, and everybody says, "Oh, it's a 6" sort of thing. So, but then again, we're dealing with black magic here, so it's interesting. But yeah, I do believe that there's the Freemasonry in the NBA is huge, right? The NBA is full of Freemasons. That's how they bring the blacks in to the whole club. It's through Freemasonry. And I think most people know that Shaquille O'Neal's a Freemason, and Magic Johnson's a Freemason, right. and they can see their rings. They don't even hide it. So their Freemasonry is huge in that's how they work the black community sort of thing. They bring them in through Freemasonry. Yeah,
I told a story before about when I went years ago in Central America. I went to Belize, and the way I would find marijuana back then was always through a cab driver. So I had traveled to a lot of different countries out there, and I'd always ask the cab driver. And I met a cab driver in Belize. He was a black man. He's Belizean, from Belize. Had a massive Masonic square and compass around his neck. He's driving me into town. I was going to get something to eat, whatever. We're just talking. And he told me he was a 32nd degree Mason, actually took me to the Masonic, because I told him I had an interest in it. Not that I wanted to enter, but I was like, oh, I've read a lot about it. I know about it. He actually took me to his lodge in Belize, like downtown, and showed me everything. And it's all the same stuff you guys have seen. And I was able to recognize most of the symbols in there. You know, it was a really interesting conversation. He didn't seem an evil man. He didn't try to trap me. He didn't try to make me a Freemason. It was just a conversation. He didn't know anything about me. He just thought I was some American guy that thought this was interesting, you know?
Yeah, they know exactly what they can say and what they can't say. I mean, they're drilled in that. Like there's you can. They want the lodges to have a positive image. I mean, the lodges are all across America and all across the world.
And they're big in Belize too. That's what he was telling me. That's a huge thing out there.
That's how it would work, because like that the Freemasonry, other sort of cults work very well as well, like Mormonism, right? Like for New World Order cults and stuff like that, because like it's a cult thing, right? It's all cults because it's all secretive. And so there's a hierarchy and a structure to it. And with Freemasonry, the structure is like they indoctrinate as you go up each level, you go through new rituals, and the rituals get more severe as you get higher, sort of thing. And like your knowledge grows, then the consequences of sharing the knowledge grow, sort of thing, until, like if you ever do anything against Freemasons, they will kill you and your family and everybody and all that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah.
Do you know about the anti-Freemason party that used to exist in the United States?
Was it Catholic?
I don't. Well, I can imagine probably, but it was during the mid 19th century, 1850s, that there's a Freemason party that actually had significant impact in American politics and for a spell elected quite a few people, and it was because a prominent person within society was killed by the Freemasons. So they never found his body; he just disappeared. But he was exposing Freemasonry, and so they knew that Freemasonry was a huge problem. So it became such a big problem in American politics, and it's like that's. Unfortunately, right? That's part of our history. It's a shadow history, and it's all kind of concealed. But like Freemasonry,
it's not cool, honestly.
Yeah, these
people are running our lives, and they're doing things in secret. They won't tell you. That's the issue. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just like with when both Bush and Kerry were interviewed, about when they're facing off against each other, and Gore as well, right? Oh, it's a secret. Can you tell us about? I can't tell you anything. It's a secret. Like they'll never ever. That's dealing with Yale and Skull and Bones, right? Those secret societies, but the fraternal secret societies operate in the same manner as the Freemasonic ones, where you never ever reveal those secrets, right? There's things that you're allowed to talk about, and then there's things that you can never talk about. So,
it reminds me of a video that was out there of Steve Harvey on a black minister's TV show, maybe TD Jakes or one of these guys, I can't remember. But as soon as they came up, they gave them the Masonic handshake, and they mentioned something about Masonry, and then suddenly Steve's like, that's funny. We can't be talking about that in front of the cameras or something. But I don't know if you ever saw that. Some of y'all could look it up. Maybe some of you guys remember that. But yeah, just another example. We know the brotherhoods with black people, with white people, and well, even with women as well. The Order of the Eastern.
Oh yeah.
Tons of that stuff as well.
The women have all their Freemasonic orders as well. So it's.
Well, here's another one from. Are you still good? Just doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. This is fun. Just hanging out, man. Thanks again, and I'll just also shout out the audience, man. We got like over 2,600 people here live. So, guys, thank you so much. Yeah, man. Thank you, guys, man. It's really cool. Some of y'all are staying up real late. You're overseas, so thank you so much. And moderators, I appreciate you. You're doing a great job. Okay, next question. Do you think most superstars have to make a blood sacrifice of a loved one to have their fame? I'll give my quick answer is that I definitely don't think it's everybody in Hollywood. I was watching a video, which is rare for me, a few weeks ago from a so-called conspiracy theorist, and they pointed out a lot of really good things about people in Hollywood. And then came the BS. Suddenly they're like made this blanket statement. I guarantee you right now, everybody in Hollywood is worshiping as a Freemason. Every single filmmaker, every single actor. And I can't do that because I worked out there for a while. Not that I know much, but I know a little. But I just don't see it realistically like that. I knew a lot of good people that were even Christian, that were making it in the business in other areas and stuff, So I just don't see it as like that. But my thing is that you'll know by their signs and symbols and by all the stories connecting when there's mysterious deaths surrounding these people. This gives it away. And when you find a celebrity with a mysterious death, can you find pictures of them doing the one eye symbol? I mean, it's really that basic. Do you find them doing a lot of these satanic or Illuminati symbols? Are they in movies that have these kinds of symbols and ideas? You do have to think about it. You got to use everything: your logic, reason, common sense, critical thinking, and spiritual discernment. Because you know what I mean? It's not safe to just make a blanket statement and say every one of them.
Some of them,
yes.
Some of them, I think it's not even necessarily secret societies. It's more like the CIA and stuff like that, right? Like I think like people like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and people like that are CIA assets. Now they probably made deals as well. And then again, is there always, I think there's a blood ritual. It doesn't necessarily always involve having a relative killed off or something like that, but that could be for the higher levels sort of thing. But almost everybody that becomes a household name has made the deal. There's no question about that. Now, what does the deal involve? It could be different because there are different sorts of I mean, first of all, you've got Hollywood, but then you've got European films and different industries and you could be in television, you could be in different sort of areas of entertainment sort of that are maybe controlled by different sort of secret societies, but they all sort of conspire together. I think the big names, I think when it comes to like hip hop and stuff like that, I think you see a lot of those blood rituals. You see like death is very, very common. And maybe that's just all about control, right? Like you want to have total control over these people. But yeah, it's hard to know, right? We know that it happens. It's just what level. It's again, as KJ says, it could be a case by case thing. You never really know.
Yeah, and there's a really interesting one y'all can look into. It's the death of Brittany Murphy. There's a lot of symbolism around that, a lot of numbers, a lot of dates. There's just a lot of things that lined up with her death. I remember that was really obvious. Like things like that. Yeah, man, I absolutely believe they carry out certain sacrifices on certain days. They did it on 9/11, man. It was a massive satanic sacrifice, if you will. Massive in front of the entire world. So sure, they do it, even on smaller levels. Against
they killed off celebrities all the time. And then when the celebrities die, it's hard to know because did they really die? Like Chris Cornell, is he really dead or is he on a beach in Tel Aviv kind of thing, right? You don't know 100% because like these people, even Elvis, right? Elvis, of course. Elvis would have been in the club for sure. In fact, Elvis was a CIA asset, and the CIA are deeply connected to Satanism. Prescott Bush. You mentioned the Bushes before. We mentioned George Herbert Walker and his son W, right? But Prescott Bush is the one that you really want to pay attention to because he was one of the founders of the CIA itself, right? And this is all coming out of Operation Paperclip and everything else, going way back, right, to the Second World War sort of thing. But yeah, the CIA has used Satanism, and there's a lot of that. So the CIA also with Mormonism, right? Because the cult, like Mormonism has that cult.
Masonry.
Yeah, masonry.
A lot of masonry,
Yeah. So like different cults operate on different ways, but they're all basically secretive, and they fit that control sort of grid sort of thing. So yeah, it's
and Daddy Bush was the head of the CIA when JFK got popped and made the phone call.
There's a photo of him right next to the book depository, right? Like it looked like he might have even been in on the assassination, but
that's an evil family. It really is. All right, here's another one, man, from Kev. Hi, Kev. How do other countries play a role, do you think? I just got an update on my phone where it says Iran, Turkey, Russia, and China are celebrating the collapse of the U.S. Gosh, I mean, we know that it's heading that way. Jeff and I were talking about that. It's heading towards a war, so I'm sure you're going to see a lot more like that. What do you think, Jeff?
What was the question though? Is oh yeah, how, I see it up on the screen.
How do
now.
other countries play a role, do you think, since you got this update about how Turkey, Russia, and
yeah.
China are celebrating a collapse?
Yeah, it's the big question is how much a part of how like at the top, right? When it comes to the countries, like a lot of people would say, or a lot of people that they would say things like, say, a lot of the Cold War was just manipulation by secret societies, and that's just a form of control, because if you always have this enemy, that this specter threat, it's very easy to control the people, and it serves both power systems, right? And you see with China and the whole Kobe thing, it's very, very interesting because you got Trump playing the role. He's blaming the China virus, all that stuff. But, you know, I think in many ways it's a lot of backs being scratched, because I think China, and by and large, was able to stomp out a lot of the Hong Kong protests and you know, get rid of a lot of dissidents and accomplish a lot of different things with their sort of Kobe psyop that they carried out there. And I think we're in truly a global world order. When we saw with Iran, for instance, right, where the Iranian minister was up on stage and he's wiping his face, and all the theatrics that went with that, Iran was playing roles, so also showing mass graves and all this fear, and it fed into the whole narrative of Kobe. So it makes me feel that most of these nations are working together to accomplish this new world order, and that there's a facade that we all get that that's the bad guy, or, you know, like the, you know, for instance, the North Korea, right? I mean, it's like wag the dog, really. I mean, what do you know? I mean, for all we know, it's just, you know, it's controlled by China or something. It's just a imaginary boogeyman that they set up and use to control, you know, use as like this factor so that we have to have massive military and all this stuff, and they can bring it out and they can use it as you know, a threat, and then eventually maybe manifest it into wars, things like that. That's my biggest question, really. How much is China and Russia part of the New World Order? And in one country that's very, very making a ton of deals with China, there's one country in the Middle East that's making a ton of deals with China. They're very, very active. It's called Israel. So there's some really, and of course, if you like, I think of United States and Israel kind of like, have you seen the movie Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, so you know the Master Blaster
with the little midget.
Yeah, the little midget on the top of the giant ogre. Like, that's kind of the way I think of Israel and United States. Like, that the master is, you know, the little country sort of thing, and the big thug is the United States, and it does what the master wants it to do, sort of thing. So I am very it's very difficult to know how much they trust each other, what goes on at the highest levels, and whether or not, like, how much of it is all choreographed as opposed to how much they don't trust each other and they might, you know, turn on each other, or they actually hate each other and they want to wipe each other out. Because Kissinger always talks about China as being the biggest threat and that we have to deal with China, right? But, you know, is he saying that for the masses to fear? Is that part of our whole thing? So it's very difficult. But I'm more on the lines that the New World Order is pretty much in control of most of these nations.
Yeah, there's some really interesting. You can look this up, folks, if you're interested. But there's a lot of connections out there to the Iranian idea of a Mahdi, an M-A-H-D-I, and Barack Obama. Again, that goes back to the idea of what if Obama really is running all this from behind the scenes. Mainstream's even saying that now. And what if it came out like that? That's just another fun rabbit hole if you're interested, is all the odd spiritual connections between the idea of this Iranian Antichrist savior and Obama himself. I was throwing that out there.
They had that show that came out too, eh?
Oh,
or has it come out there with the Messiah, whatever?
That's one of those I keep meaning to put into a bigger video, and I will someday. But it was called Messiah, right? Yeah, on Netflix, and it was totally about the Mahdi. You know, it really was.
Magi, or whatever it's called. Dajjal, I think.
Oh, the Dajjal.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what the Dajjal. But yeah, it's he was the Arabian Jesus, basically, if you will, but really the Antichrist for
He
us.
poses as the savior, but he's really and so Netflix and it's interesting because Netflix put that out. I don't know, is it aired or
It's already come out. I watched it. Gosh, probably 3 months ago. But they even like I said, I've made notes. I've got notes on it, man. There's a lot of symbolism in there. They even have him pose in front of Osiris's penis, the Washington Monument, in front of the reflecting pool, just to make the point. This is the Antichrist. That's one of the moments they did that. So yeah, but you bet. And that's the other thing we wonder, because we know that everything else is predictive programming. We see things all the time coming to fruition, coming to reality that was programmed in TV shows and movies before. So what is that Messiah TV show telling us? Is that a sign of perhaps something that's coming? Lots of the alien programming, of course. I've got a video I'll be putting up the next couple of days with that, because as I've said, I'm adding in some SpaceX stuff to this, but that's another one to be watching is the skies, man. The last couple of years, the sightings are increasing. Stranger things
they are pushing that whole UFO thing, right? That's
Japan just put out an official note on it.
The Pentagon released, and it's like it was so. When I covered it, it was like, oh my god, they're releasing this now when all this stuff is going on. I think my belief is they're trying to distract us, sort of thing. But they could, like, I don't believe they're ever going to try to pull off Project Blue Beam or something like that, because I don't think it's feasible. But you never know. I mean,
I would believe more that it's going to be, actual entities. These things I'm into, showing people the orbs and whatnot. And there's a lot of programming with these tall whites, the Nordic transparent aliens that look humanoid. And, that's all the stuff I get into, and we'll do that another time. But I would definitely, I can see that being a reality and a possibility, but we'll see. All right, Jason. Go ahead. No, please.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the Roswell stuff looks kind of fake.
yeah. There's so much fake stuff.
I wonder how much of it is just Hollywood sort of thing. But it's it's a nice sort of fantasy, or fantasy. I mean, it is possible. It's just like you could speculate, and like they have, and then you have these guys like David Wilcock and so many others that push the whole aliens and the Anunnaki, and there's the gray aliens, and there's all these different, and they're all fighting each other. There's a galactic federation of light. It gets a bit silly because there's zero proof for any of it, really. I mean, maybe for Anunnaki there's proof, but but yeah. Anyways, sorry.
No, it's good. Trust me, man. I've covered a lot. I think they're shapeshifters, and I get into that. I show my background or the proof on that, but I think they're all just shape-shifting interdimensionals, and they can come in all these different forms, and all that other stuff is just
I look at the shape-shifting stuff as a metaphor for, the New World Order, the way that they're like chameleons. You know what I mean? Like they can change who they are, and they can seamlessly interject themselves. Like I look at it more as metaphorical than like that they actually change shape and stuff. I see
what you're saying. I was talking about the shape shifting in the skies, like those things can change shapes and colors, and they turn into diamonds, and those are the things I'm talking about. The other shape shifting thing here with humans, I believe that you can see their eyes switch. I believe that's a sign of a form of possession. I believe that. I don't think these are, again, like reptilian creatures and things like this. I'm not into all that stuff, but I believe in a serpent seed line. I also, I don't know everything, I mean, because there's some strange things that come out. There's a map they found in, I think it was 1946, and it was an underground cavern tunnel, or underground tunnels beneath Los Angeles, and they had reptilian creatures all through there and all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, I think there's so much we don't know.
Right.
And it's like, it's neat to speculate, though. It's like, but it's hard to, it's hard to know, right? So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, we'll move on. Here's another question from Jason. It says, have you heard of the new claim to the throne of England? New king of England is named as Christ, King James III. I've seen a couple of headlines on that, but I haven't explored it, Jason. I'll probably look into it the next few days and maybe talk about it Friday. Do you know anything about that?
No, Jeff? I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, sorry, man. We haven't heard about that. right, let's see what else we got here. Here's one. Oh, from Ian. Do you think there's any validity to the claim of Isaac Newton's prediction for the return year of Christ as being 2060? I've never heard of that, but honestly, man, I never get into any date setting or areas where this could happen or that because, well, for one, you're not really supposed to be setting dates, but number two, it's just our reality is so unpredictable. Just when I think I've seen it all, I'll see something new or I get a little surprised. And I haven't been this way as much over the last, since the last couple of years. It's just really, there's an increase in craziness. The energy's crazy. We know there's a lot's going on. And it's hard to predict things. So I, not to sound like a new age hippie, but I practice more of kind of a Zen, kind of be here now life. You're right. I just stay in the moment. I can't worry about my past. It's done. I'm not going to worry about my future because it hasn't happened, but I can control right now. You know what I mean? So I live like that all the time, right here, right now. It helps me stay focused on all the things I look into, and but I look forward to Christ's return, and I don't worry about raptures and all that or when it's going to happen or this or that. I'm taking it day by day. I pray that if there's some catching away, I get to go. But if not, I know that the Lord's going to guide me, So again, I'm not in fear of these things, not trying to predict anything. And that's just kind of my take. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't believe in living in fear either, because that's a way of control. Fear, that's what fear is, right? It's a method of control. But I do believe you have to, try to stop what they're trying to do. I think it's good to believe in things and all that, but I think it's important also to be very active in trying to stop what they're trying to accomplish, because we should all have an opportunity to live our lives peacefully and not have to deal with the evilness that they're inflicting upon us. But yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Here's another one from Anthony. Thanks, Jeff. It's, have you read 1900, The Last President, written in the 1800, that predicted Trump's presidency? The top of my head, I remember I probably showed a story about that a while back. I'd never looked real deep into it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, again, it's interesting how, look, you can look up, there's two of them.
Ingersoll, is it?
I don't know, but I'm thinking of those two ancient statues or carvings of Trump's face they found that have been around for like a couple thousand years. They've done that with Obama too, but all this stuff. And I don't know if that has to do with Tesla, by the way, the thing Anthony's asking, but have you heard all this stuff with Tesla and John Trump and all that?
Yeah, well, I know about the Baron Trump, Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, whatever. Right. That's by Ingersoll Lockwood, I think is the name.
Maybe.
Yeah, and it's it's really bizarre. It's one of those things. It's like, what, right? What? How does this? It's the truth is stranger than fiction, kind of thing, right?
It's great. It just goes to show you that even if people have different belief systems, but on the very most shallow level, you can at least see all this stuff and realize there's some kind of consciousness behind the scenes working here, right? These things are threading together, and this isn't just a coincidence. It happens time and time again, so it's fascinating to see these things. Here's one from Vicky. What do you think about the Mandela effect, and do you think CERN has something to do with it? Man, Vicky, I did one video talking about Mandela effect, but it wasn't what you would think. But, I think, unfortunately, it's no offense to anybody out there, but I think that's closer to kind of a flat earth type situation. And I think people have taken the idea, and some really solid, interesting examples, by the way, and ran with it and has just made it crazy. Now I got people writing me saying the Bible's being changed and, all this other stuff. Yeah. And it's just really gotten out of hand, I think. I don't know. What do you think, man?
Yeah, you're right on. I actually exposed the Mandela effect many, many years ago, and I know all about it. I know all the claims. I know the people responsible. I know about Fiona Broome, who's from MIT. and most definitely in an alphabet agency. And she also believes in fairies. Also, Mandela is based on the notion that Nelson Mandela died in the 80s, and all these people have these memories. I lived through the 80s, and Nelson Mandela did not die at all. And I remember in the 90s when the World Cup of Rugby was held at in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela was there. There's never ever been that. They're taking advantage of people's bad memories. These are operations like Flat Earth and stuff like that, where they these are sophisticated, and they put a lot of assets on it. And there are a lot of things that we all commonly misremember, like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and things like that, Field of Dreams and so many other examples. And it's just common things that we all get wrong. We get everything wrong. I mean, you'd be amazed at how many things that just happened yesterday that you would remember wrong. They know this, the powers that be, the alphabet agencies that infiltrate the truth movements, and they put these conspiracies in there to accomplish all different things. Like, they're studying us, they're finding what we fall for. They also find that conspiracy theorists tend to fall for a lot more things than other normal people do, and this is one of those examples. But I don't believe there's any truth to it, and no, I don't believe that any of these things that they claim have changed at all. None of them. Like, seriously, like, I can go through the whole list of, I know them all, and I'll tell you, they're all just people with bad memories, and it's easy to get things wrong. But they are manipulating us, and I do believe CERN is something completely different than they claim it is. So, but yeah, I think the Mandela effect is an alphabet agency operation.
Man, yeah, that's, you and I, we've together are some of the few that I can think of that stood by our guns with that one, and also with Flat Earth throughout the years. I mean, I've become nicer about Flat Earth, I'll admit that. I used to be real hardcore and really blocking a lot and all this, but as time went on, I started realizing, as I was saying earlier, we got to think of innocent people who just come into things, and maybe they first found Flat Earth and then they found us and other things like this. So they're still learning and trying to navigate,
Believe what you want to believe too, right? I mean, like, that's my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion. If you want to believe the Earth is flat and you believe that, and you believe that, then by all means. I mean, it doesn't mean you stop listening to me or KJ or anything like that, right? We're never going to agree. It's silly for us to agree on everything anyways, because that's hive mind, right? It's like, right, groupthink, right? Everybody thinks the same. It's good to have, different opinions, but there is a lot of bad information that's put out there, and things that are sophisticated operations.
Oh yeah, I mean, the most basic for me. Well, yeah, we don't need to get fully into all this, but I won't even get into it, because I was gonna start getting into stuff too. I proved this one time by showing. I don't want to get into it, but all right, we'll go to the next one, because that's a whole other thing. This is from Vinicius, it looks like. Hi, and this is from Brazil. Thanks for joining us, man.
Awesome.
Says, what can we do if we have no way to get out of cities and live out of the grid? Well, gosh, you're in Brazil. I'm actually kind of envious. I would like to be in Brazil, because I bet there's a lot of great jungle out there you can get out to.
Easy though. It's not easy to survive in the jungle.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
jungle is actually very difficult to survive in. It makes you think that it's easy, but it's actually very difficult to survive. The natives there, they need quite a bit of territory.
Well, what would you tell Vinicius then? What's your best answer? Would you say
well,
how to get out of the city?
I would say, I would say, start looking at what you have in assets and stuff like that, and think about where you can get to feasibly, and like, so say you're in Rio or you're in Sao Paulo or wherever you might be. If you're in one of the major cities there, you might want to look at, okay, where can I go that I can afford to live, and start to move off this grid. I mean, because that's the whole thing, right? Like, living off the grid is nice, but how are you going to feed yourself and your family and stuff like that, right? So you still need to work, but if you can, hunt and gather and all that, as well as farm, then it's possible if you can buy land and you can get off you know, their thing. Otherwise, you just go full Rambo, develop your survival skills, and go full Rambo and head out, you know, into the bush with whatever you can carry, kind of thing, and just start building. Because you could do stuff like that. I mean, the difference when you're in the tropics, if you are in the tropics, there, I imagine in Brazil, you're probably somewhere near the tropics there, or in the tropics. Most of Brazil's in the tropics. That's better than, say, living in Ontario or close to where I am in Quebec, right, where it gets really cold for half the year, sort of thing, and it's very difficult to survive at those points of time. So there's so many obstacles to it, though. But I think it's one of those things that you can manifest, and if you can, you should pursue it, because the cities, whatever happens, if you're in the cities, you're almost going to have not much of a choice, right? Because it's like you're going to have to use the transport. You're going to have to go to the shop, you know, the grocers. You're going to have to go to the doctor. So you're going to have to do whatever all of society, what they implement. So if it's a lockstep and you're going through these portals and you're sticking in, you know, you're going to have to do that. So yeah, I think that's a challenge, though. I wouldn't, like, the thing about where you are, Vinicius, is that we know our areas a lot better than we would know your area. So you would probably be have a lot better idea of what options you have. But I would just say, like, just start planning towards something and make it feasible. Don't make it something that's unobtainable, but something that's feasible, and look towards how you can manifest it. And also, first and foremost, look at other people in Brazil that have done the same, and see how they're living. Maybe go and get out there and see, if you can, get out of the city and see how these people live, and maybe you can learn from them, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I agree too. You know, maybe talk to people you're close to, talk to people in your church or maybe at work, but maybe start working on getting communities together, getting, you know, groups of people together that might like this idea of kind of moving out a little bit further outside of the city together. I always say, you know, pray about things, of course, pray for guidance, because you'll get it. And that'll also help you not do this in fear. Don't approach this with fear, but, you know, pray for guidance and for peace, and then wait for it and look for your answer, you know, actively, while being engaged, you know, again, trying to figure out a place to go and how to get there and what to do. And is there water? You know, is there natural water? You know, things like this, you know, the basics. And, you know, it'll all come together. Like Jeff said, I believe when you start putting energy to these things, it will manifest, if you will. Like, it'll all start coming together. Just believe it will. That's where prayer comes in for me. Pray on it, believe it, and then start working towards it. You know, it'll all come together for you. I hope that helps.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Let's see here. I'm scrolling. We'll do a few more of these. You still doing okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. Here's one I've never heard of. Have you heard any of this quantum talk happening? You know anything about that?
Quantum mechanics or quantum computers?
I don't know. I've never heard of quantum talk. I just figured I'd throw it out there for you. But have you heard?
I'm not sure. Yeah, because the quantum computers is really taken off. That's the new wave of computers, and that's going to be, you know, computers that have, you know, we won't even be able to compare the computers that you have now to those computers. They'll be beyond anything you could possibly imagine. But yeah, I don't know exactly what realm of quantum you're talking about.
Is it quantum connected to D-Wave, right?
D-Wave?
D-Wave is that, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's developed this thing called D-Wave. I believe it's some kind of a quantum computer, but he was talking about that what it's doing is it's opening up other dimensions. And this is the scientist that created it. Some of y'all may fill in blanks for me, but I remember him seeing a speech he was talking about with D-Wave, and there's symbolism there too. I think there's Saturn symbolism surrounding it as well. And he's talking about how it's going to be opening up these portals to where they won't be demons, but he said they're going to be more like Lovecraftian type creatures.
Yeah. There's so much symbolism for that these days too.
I know,
everywhere.
lots of
The New World Order is obsessed with Lovecraft.
big time. Oh, probably because maybe that's what some of these monsters look like that they pray to.
Yeah,
every night,
you know, there's something there. I think like you know, at the mouth of madness and things like that. Because I was a big Lovecraft guy.
Yeah.
The like Antarctica and stuff like that. There's definitely stuff under the ice, sort of thing that you know. And recently was the Bird Box. You remember the Bird Box Netflix thing that they put out with
The movie, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like they were Lovecraftian demons that were basically manifesting.
Right.
that
And
were-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, there was a movie called, what is it? Gosh, Underwater, I think it was called, with Kristen Stewart. See that?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it.
So that just came out, and I watched it recently. And same thing. No, spoiler alert, folks. But it's like there's a Lovecraftian creature down there. So
Have you seen The Lighthouse?
oh gosh, that was a
Yeah.
crazy movie. And
That's
of course,
nuts.
that's the guy that made The Witch. Which
Yeah, that's 824. 824. Yeah, that's the New World Order there. That studio there is putting out. They put out Midsummer and
Yep.
all these movies. Hereditary is another one that we
Yeah.
mentioned before. But yeah, that Lighthouse film. Whoa, that's Lovecraftian. That's also Luciferian, and it has so many different elements, and it's also really artistic filmmaking. Like they went like the
It was
Robert
well
Ed-
done. I thought
very
it was
well
really
done.
well
Yeah.
done.
Excellent acting too. William Dafoe is wow.
He was great in that. He really was great in that. But you're right. They had the Lovecraftian creature thing. I want to throw this out now that I'm thinking of it. Also with A24, they made that movie called It Comes at Night, and that's all about social isolation, right?
That's insane. That one freaks me out because it comes at night. Is a post-apocalyptic world where you have you don't know anything about what's happened, kind of like The Road or something, right? But it's a family in the woods in a cabin, and you just know civilization's collapsed, and that they never leave the house at night, and they have the red door which they lock, and that's the only way in and out, sort of thing. And then they start, then people, there's a heavy element of wraithism, that comes into the whole thing, but really, the paranoia of plague is a huge part of that film. So
Yes.
it's definitely predictive programming.
And I'll throw this at you. It's biblical symbolism where they have the red door because that's the blood on the door, like they did in Egypt.
Yes,
So the death would pass by.
Yes,
Total
What is that
predictive
called again?
programming.
What's Passover, right?
Right.
So
right.
they paint the doors red, or they paint red the lamb's blood or whatever on the doors,
Right.
sort of thing. So there's it's coming from the people with the small hats, sort of thing. So it's it's more of their symbolism, sort of thing. But yeah.
Well, here's the next one. I don't know, but they say any knowledge on Trump Epstein 2016 RAPE charges. I don't have information on that.
You have to spell that.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah. I don't even know about that, but I know about Trump and Epstein Island and all that, right?
I don't know about that part.
These people are like, if there's they're so above the law anyways. So and you're like me, and we don't buy the whole Epstein thing, right? I mean, so,
yeah, that whole thing has shadiness all over it. So come on, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's this from Sleeping. What do you think about the Denver airport murals? Lesser magic, in front of your face. I've shown this in something recently. I've never seen on an all show, but when you look at all the children on the one mural they had, it was actually in the form of a brain, and the brain is a rainbow.
Yeah,
and that's why I always go back to the Attack of the Rainbow Children, Rise of the Rainbow Children, because it's a global hive mind.
They're all diverse. They're all different colors.
Diverse, and this, that, and the other. So there's that, and we know that again, it's lesser magic, and there's obvious Masonic connections there. There's a Masonic template. Yeah, and we know that they've covered them up since, and then they started. This is where they're trying to hide it in plain sight. They started mocking us, making commercials, right?
Yeah,
ads about it, and then they even have a gargoyle. They had a comedian up there talking to the gargoyle, mocking all the conspiracies.
Remember when we played that, like, what was it, like 3 months ago or something on your show? And it was like, I showed you the guy that he had all the symbols on his Twitter sort of thing, but he took video of himself in the hangar at night sort of thing, and this
the
horrible
weird noise.
this spooky message came on, and it was like, you know, it was like really demonic.
Yes.
And it was like, whoa.
Gosh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know. They're either messing with us, but yeah, the Denver airport. I've covered it so many times. They're really creepy. They're all Agenda 21. They're all the New World Order, and Lucifer again, right in front of your face. You know. Yeah, heavy symbolism. So yeah, that's creepy
I'm still,
stuff.
scrolling down here, and it looks like I think we may have got all caught up, and I may have missed some here and there, but. But we've done a good 3.5 hours. I think we're good, man. Are you pretty good?
Yeah, absolutely. That was great, man. I really enjoyed it.
It flew by, man. But I got to get to bed, and I just like you. I'm going to do some more work. I got to get a video up over the next couple of days for my show on Friday. But so before we go quickly, man, I'll just say thank you again to everybody out there listening from all over the world. Really, we appreciate it, man. Really, thanks for taking the time. Please share this, with people. I hope it helps others. My moderators, always a wonderful job. I saw Mia and Tamara in here so far, so thanks a lot, ladies. I appreciate it. A big shout out to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. The channel's demonetized, so you guys help out quite a bit. Got links below. And also sponsors, if you're interested in checking out emergency food supplies, there's a link underneath. And Brave Browser. I'm being rude. I should have actually told you to do that first, Jeff, for yourself. I just realized, so I'm sorry.
What? Do what?
I was going to say, please tell everybody where we can find you and, your everything, all your links.
Oh, yeah, sure. Jeff's censored right now. I'm censored, of course. Living up to my name.
Seriously, you really are, as far as I know, the most censored YouTuber I've ever known. Probably it's ever been.
Yeah, so that's my main channel. So I'm locked out of it, more or less right now. I think I can leave a comment, so I'll leave a comment. But my other channels are Jeff Censored Encore here, and Supreme Lord Commander, which is kind of the main one right at the moment. And I'll be back hopefully next week on the main channel. I have Patreon, but you'll find that through my channels. And I'm at Free Radio Revolu on Twitter, and for BitChute, New World Agenda. This is all these different names that I've had for past channels that have been taken down. But yeah, come on by and check out my work, and I'm sure lots of great people. I do a lot of live shows and stuff like that, like KJ, and I love doing these shows with you, KJ. They're always amazing. So thanks so much for having me on, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you again. Which likewise, we always have a good time, and I think we got a lot out, and I think that's great, man. It's good doing these kind of shows now, and. Like I said, I'll be back to videos over the next few days, but we'll do another show soon. And
absolutely,
if you guys don't mind, guys, I like to do a short prayer before the end of my shows. So I'm just going to throw it out there and just say, Heavenly Father, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And wow, the times really are crazy. So please, spread your spirit across the land, with these people who are really losing it, and people are getting hurt out there, and violence and wickedness. We see it's obviously on the rise out there. So help us all through, Lord. Please help us all to find you if we haven't found you. And if we do have you, to cling to you, and keep us in again, not a spirit of fear, but in power and in peace. So thank you. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. Jeff, thank you, guys. Thank you so much, man. Much love to you all. We appreciate you. Go and be in peace, okay? We'll be back soon with more videos and shows. Take it easy.